welcome to the Yuma County Board of Supervisors regular meeting. This is a regular session of the Yuma County Board of Supervisors. We'll be sitting as all special taxing districts. And this is May 16, 2022, 9 a.m. Members can attend either in person or by telephone or remotely via electronic conferencing. Everybody is here. I was gonna say seems to be here because sometimes they just look like they're here. This is the call to order. The next item on the agenda is Pledge of Allegiance. Will everybody please stand up and join us? I'll have Supervisor Lyons lead us on the Pledge of Allegiance.
Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
I sure am glad this little thing's here. I almost fell off.
Did you really?
Yeah.
The first
I
item in
said
the
that.
agenda is call to the public. Call to the public is held for the public benefit to allow individuals to address issues within the board's jurisdiction. Board members may not discuss items that are not specifically identified in the agenda. Therefore, pursuant to Arizona revised statutes, action taken as a result of public comment will be limited to directing staff to study the matter, responding to criticism, or scheduling the matter for further discussion and decision at a future date. Public comments may be made in person or submitted by email at publiccomment@yumacountyaz.gov. The email forms of public comment will be accepted until 8 a.m. the morning of the meeting. Our public comments will be read aloud during the Yuma County Board of Supervisors meeting that starts at 9 a.m. Desiree, do we have any comments?
No, we do not.
All right, we are, and remember, this is the call to the public. So the items that, I do have 4 speaker cards, and you don't need to fill one prior. You can do it when you come up. And remember, if your item is in the agenda, if you can't, I'd rather you wait till the item, it's discussed, and then you can address it. If not, I do have a couple of cards here that say basically call to the public. One is from Gail Castiglione.
Good morning. I'm Gail Castricone at 3788 West 18th Place. I'm here on behalf of, can you guess, the BNC Colonia. Tomorrow night is our community forum to officially launch our Butterfly Project to bring restoration to our very neglected neighborhood. Our focus will be on neighborhood involvement and neighborhood safety. It is our hope that the Yuma County Board of Supervisors, administrators, staff, and Sheriff's Department will continue to move forward with the code enforcements and law enforcement in a timely manner. I realize your districts are huge and there are other responsibilities outside of the Colonia, but we have waited for over 40 years to get the help that is needed. Always remember that with God, all things are possible. Supervisor Reyes, you know me the longest of anyone here. You know that I will always follow through whatever I start, no matter how hard it is and no matter how long it takes. I have a quote, and I'm not sure where it came from, but it says, "You can never change what you don't confront." We thank all of you for your service to your districts. And Susan, I will miss you. We are inviting you to come to our meeting at Immaculate Conception Church tomorrow, June 17th, from 6 to 8 p.m. I like staying for your meetings because I learned so much from them here, but today I have much to do to get ready for tomorrow night. God bless you in whatever you set your hands to do, and God bless America.
Thank you, Gail.
Thank you.
And I have known you the longest. Just a matter of circumstantial. Thank you. Thank you.
Uh-huh.
And, before you go, Gail, I do want to say something. There are people that go through life talking about, making change happen. And there are people who actually make change happen. And you're one of the later ones. I mean, I think the BNC Colonia people owe you a lot. Because if you and Supervisor Stewart, I remember, kept that project going and it just hit the right timing because it's a multi-million-dollar project that couldn't have been done unless some things came together. They came together, but it was fortunate that you guys were ready. Otherwise, it might not have happened. And it's because of people like you that things like that happen. So I just wanted to acknowledge that. It's not a matter of us knowing us a long time. It's a matter of us knowing that you can get it done if we, help you do it. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Lolita Causey?
Good morning, fellow supervisors. I guess I have to talk fast.
So what's your last name?
Pardon?
What's your last name? How do you pronounce your last name?
Lolita Causey.
Ozzy. Okay.
I sent this article to the paper on April 25th, 2022. For some reason, the editor must not think it is important enough to print in letters to the editor. I, on the other hand, think any way we can let people know that's what we need to do. So here we go. Do I stay or do I go? On April 19th, ABC News ran a segment that is on YouTube about the Colorado River and Lake Mead. If you don't want to see something scary, don't watch it. Also, Google pictures of Lake Powell, that's even scarier. On the other hand, don't stick your head in the sand either and hope it will go away, which seems to me our elected officials are doing just that. Yuma Sun article, February 26, 2022. Wait for it. Governor Ducey to create an agency for water needs research and finance the water needs of Arizona. How do you buy something that doesn't exist in maybe 5 to 10 years? Probably at the rate this is going even sooner, much, much sooner. Oh, and the governor turns off the water when he brushes his teeth. Now, I don't mean to make light of it. Every bit helps, especially if everyone in the state does it. I've been doing it just that for years. It's just we need a lot more to be done, a lot more. I haven't heard of any restrictions being put in place here in the city, county, or for that matter, the state. Suggestions maybe if you find the right place to find them and read them. Also in the article, Rusty Bowers states in the article, if we don't do it quick, then people will actually be leaving the valley. Yet, look at all the building going on in the state, even right here in Yuma. Where is the water going to come from for these new homes? They also say people will have to pay more for the water. Water from where? Is there a secret water supply we don't know about? Please inform us. Please, staying mum does not put me and maybe the people of the state at ease. Some people aren't even aware or vaguely aware, it seems, of the situation. Ones I have spoken with anyway. Also discussing the article desalination. They are talking about building a new plant at the Sea of Cortez with a pipeline underground at a cost of around $4 billion. Time frame depending on where you read, 2 to 3 years or 20 years. What about the one in South County? Every now and then they restart it and report all is okay with it. Why not get that up and running? Even considering 22 tap. Ugh, I won't even discuss that. Randy Bowers also talks about incentives to urban landowners to cut back on their lush lawns. Really? They have to be bought to conserve water? It is the community for itself, or is it everyone conserving for the good of all? Rusty said they water with flood water. Can't the flood water be used for something else? I haven't seen anything about any conservation plan from the city, county, or state. Maybe this is the first place to stop. Stop all watering all lawns. There is such a thing as artificial turf that really looks authentic. Maybe plant only Southwest desert tree and shrubs. In an article in the Yuma Sun, June 10th, 2020, Governor Ducey appears finally ready to act on a permanent solution to the fact that it is hotter and drier. There's not enough water to sustain growth. Really? Is he just now figuring that out? Yet again, I haven't seen anything about any conservation plan and the building of new homes continue. You even talk about receiving manufacturing jobs. To Yuma. Then there was an article in the Yuma Sun, December 2018, 2 years earlier. At the time, they thought the level in Lake Mead would drop to 1,075 feet by 2020. Hello, it's 4 years later, and yet here we are yet again. I haven't seen anything about any conservation plan. All residents of the 7 states should be in this together. I think if people knew how urgent this is, they would automatically start conserving. Yuma is a close community. They all come out to help when someone needs it. Well, we all need it. The leaders of the city, county, and state need to make some tough decisions, and people need to be informed. I do know all 7 states have an agreement signed in 2019, and agreed to release 500,000 acre-feet from Flaming Gorge Canyon in Wyoming. Will it be enough to maintain the power for the people around Page, Arizona? I'm afraid it would only take a short time to find out. I'm sorry, I don't mean to be harsh, but I think this is urgent, especially when information is posted on YouTube just about every day and no one seems to be doing anything. No, I don't profess to know how to go about any of this, other than to conserve as much as I can. I am just a lay person about this issue, except to say I'm very, very concerned about the water situation. You see, most of my money is tied up in the house in Yuma, and if I can't sell it in a couple years, well, I do know somehow, someway, God will take care of the believers who trust in Him. I do have faith and trust in God. He is my rock in this life and will be in the next. I think we should be having prayer vigils. I don't belong to social media, and I have no idea how to go about that either. Maybe some of you good, concerned people out there can put a few together. Can you imagine if 1,000 people or more going to an open area, maybe a park, and we all send up prayers at the same time, praying for God to fill Lake Powell and Lake Mead? It needs to be done more than once. I know God can do miracles. I've seen them. Excuse me. Just let me know where and when. After all, God said pray without ceasing. I think we have a better chance with Him than our elected officials. So, do I stay or do I go? Thank you for listening. Lila Causey from Yuma.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Anybody else on the call to the public? If not, we'll move on to presentation, proclamations, and appointments, during which members may discuss the presentations, proclamations, and may announce appointments to the Yuma County Planning and Zoning Commission, the Yuma County Board of Adjustment. No legal action will be taken. The first item is a presentation of the Yuma County line by Yuma 77, the Yuma County Government Channel. There's 2 seats up in the front for whomever wants to, we promise not to call on you, though.
No front row seaters.
Problem. This is not like school.
Come on, Robin, come on down.
Come on, Robin and Tiffany. Come on, don't be chicken. Oh, chicken.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Our 197 building on Main Street is officially vacant. One of Arizona's longest-running charter schools will soon be closing their doors. And the Board of Supervisors get a rundown of the projected budget for fiscal year 2022-23. These stories and more, this is your County Line. The Yuma County Recorder and Election Services Departments have officially moved into their temporary location. May 16th is the official move-in date. The new location is just down the street from the County Administration Building on Main Street, 102 South Main Street, home of the old Hopsteaders. The move will provide them a temporary workspace in which to operate while our 197 building project begins.
We have moved into the space to more efficiently serve the customers of Yuma County as we embark on a new election cycle for 2022. We will expect to be in this space for a few years and hope that the public in Yuma County find it to be easily accessible and a good space to accomplish the work that they do with our office.
Preparation of the building included office renovations to accommodate staff and old building furniture being moved. The temporary move is part of a project to rebuild the building at 197 South Main Street. All 4 departments previously occupying the building have now moved to their temporary locations. One of Arizona's longest-running charter schools will close in June, but there is some good to come from this. Aztec is in its 26th year of operation as the only charter school to operate within a juvenile court system. The school's original purpose was to assist high-risk juvenile offenders with unique pathways to a successful future through novel instructional approaches to learning. More than 50 youngsters under court supervision had been expelled from school and had exhausted all available educational alternatives in 1995, indicating a considerable need for this service. Aztec enrolled more than 130 students per year at its peak, but with the expansion of alternative programming in district schools, attendance has been taking a hit, resulting in decreased school revenue.
With the declining student population, analyzing that and looking at the tremendous educational opportunities that are being afforded by the school district and other charter schools, we determined that the educational needs of our student population could be best met by continuing education at these other area schools.
The closure will allow the Juvenile Justice Center to focus on its original mission to protect children and families, to promote justice and accountability, and to provide rehabilitation for a safer community. The majority of current Aztec students have chosen their next school, have started the transfer process, and are excited for the future. It's that time of year when many cities and counties in Arizona are presenting their budgets for consideration. On May 2nd and 3rd, the Board of Supervisors held special budget sessions. During these sessions, the county administrator, along with the budget review team, revealed their projected budget for fiscal year 2022-23. Your county supervisors heard from all county departments, agencies, and special groups. During this time, the directors and representatives were able to speak to the board about the budget the Yuma County budget team had formulated for the upcoming fiscal year. Now that the board has had the opportunity to hear from all interested parties, they will have the task of adopting a tentative budget. The Board of Supervisors will discuss and provide direction on any changes they would like to see made. Once the board adopts a tentative budget, final approval of the budget will follow.
I'm Elia Juarez, and this is your library update. We may be hundreds of miles from the nearest ocean, but this summer, YCLD is bringing the beach to you. From May 28th through July 9th, our summer reading program is back at all of our Yuma County libraries. This year's theme is Oceans of Possibilities, so watch our website and our library branches for a bunch of fun programs all centered around the science of the ocean. You could see mermaids, you could see pirates, you could see all kinds of fish and other crazy sea creatures. So make sure you check our calendars to see what's going on for every single age group. For more information on this year's summer reading program and everything else we have going on at the libraries, make sure to check out our new and improved website at yumalibrary.org and follow us across all of our social media platforms.
Before we go, just a reminder that there's a holiday coming up. Memorial Day weekend is fast approaching, so remember, on Monday, May 30th, most county offices will be closed in observance. We will return on Tuesday, May 31st for our normal working hours. Thank you for joining us for this County Line. We'd like to know of any story ideas you may have, so let us know. And if you're looking for stories we've covered in the past, log on to our website at yumacountyaz.gov/VOD. We'll see you on the next County Line.
Well, thank you, and we'll get back to the regular agenda, which is part of the regular agenda, but a presentation now by Marcus Carney from the Visit Yuma, the Visit Yuma Executive Director regarding Visit Yuma fiscal year 21-22 program of work and future plans and efforts to promote Yuma County as a year-round destination. Mr. Carney.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. I'm Marcus Carney. I am the new Executive Director at Visit Yuma. One of the things that I've had the benefit of is coming into this community and seeing it from fresh eyes. One of the things that Visit Yuma does, one of the things that we're tasked with, is telling the story of Yuma out to the world. I'm sure that this is no secret to any of you. A lot of times when we go out into the world, we hear kind of some old perceptions of what Yuma really is. A lot of times when we talk to people from Phoenix or San Diego, they have a perception of what Yuma was 25, 30 years ago. And our job at Visit Yuma is to try to kind of change that. It's kind of like, think about Coca-Cola. You have to be reminded what Coke is every once in a while for you to kind of get that excitement. We've changed what the organization does just a little bit over the last over the last year since I joined. We used to be focused on producing some events and trying to promote Yuma that way. And we're trying to switch into a little bit more of the marketing and the sales side of that. And so I'll talk a little bit about some of the efforts that we have going on. And some of the things that we hope to be doing here in the future. We have to start with what's most important to our industry is the heads and beds. You hear that a lot from people in destination marketing. The best way to understand what's happening in the tourist section here in Yuma is how many people are sleeping in our hotels. Obviously here in Yuma, we also have RV spots that kind of make that a little bit more complicated because it's harder to track. but we like to look at our hotels. How do I get this thing to work here? Does this work?
Point it up. Point it at Susan, it won't work.
There's something.
You gotta point it
There
up.
we go.
Yeah.
Which one? Do I
The
have to point behind
projector's
me?
up there, I think.
It's right
Oh, it's up
there.
there?
Yeah, I think
Oh,
Okay. All right. So we got to talk about our hotels. Uh-oh. All right.
I'm out. Can somebody do this?
Annie Porteous,
Yeah, there you go. I think it's a little slow. It's like,
Oh, that is not how that's supposed to look.
The one?
Okay. Well, so that is not how that's supposed to look. So I'm sorry. I sent you guys. Okay, whatever. So we have 40 properties. We have about 3,600 total hotel rooms here in Yuma. That is a lot of rooms. I'm sure that everyone here knows that. We are obviously held up by really great military here and the border and agriculture. And so Yuma is in a really, really unique position compared to other communities of our size. Like I said, 3,600 hotel rooms is a lot. I came from a community a few years ago that had roughly the same number, and that population there was about 800,000. So we have a lot of hotel rooms. That's a really good thing, and it's a really hard thing for those hotels because I'm sure, as anyone noticed in the last 3 months, if you're trying to book a hotel during the week, if you were staying at one of the Marriotts, the room was about $700 or $800. But then on the weekends, we drop down pretty significantly. It's a lot more affordable, and so that's what we're trying to focus on at Visit Yuma. Go to the next page, maybe. Yeah, there we go. All right. So one of the things that we look at Visit Yuma is the occupancy. That's the total number of hotel rooms that are filled. This is the last 4 years. The number across the bottom, that's the month. So you can see we have some pretty big dips. You have obviously the light blue one, that's COVID, that's 2020. Again, one of the things I want to point out, Yuma was really lucky because we went down to about 30% occupancy. Comparative, the rest of the state was about 8 or 9% occupancy. So we were still pretty high compared to other places. I moved here from Seattle. Seattle was down in the 1 and 2% occupancy. So Yuma was really lucky. We maintained a lot of that business. Again, the government, travel, there's stuff that just does not shut down. So we're pretty lucky for that. The other thing that's pretty significant is if you look at this year and last year, our occupancy is way higher than it ever has been before. So rooms are full. We have built in a couple new hotels this last year. So even with more rooms available, the hotels are even full. We can go to the next one. And then this is a pretty telling one. Like I said, room rates are really high right now. This is January, February, and March of this year, $125. That's per day. That's the average rate that you would pay when you stay at a hotel. And when you kind of look down, you notice we only started crossing $100 last year. So we've seen a pretty significant growth pretty quickly in the cost of hotels, which is why we're seeing a lot of development, obviously. And hopefully we'll continue to see more development of those properties to try to kind of increase the demand, and which will level out the average daily rate that we kind of see. But again, one of the problems that we have is we have a really high high and we have a really low low. So in July, obviously, if you're looking for a room in Yuma on the weekend in July, you can find it. It's anywhere, right? Our hotels are sitting at about 40 to 50% occupant. That's really low. That's really hard. That means that our hotels have really seasonal work. It means that they are hiring and letting people go. It means that the restaurants and the other things that kind of rely on that travel and those folks to be filling the hotel rooms are not needing to hire the servers and the front people at the restaurants and all that kind of stuff. And so our goal again at Visit Yuma is to try to increase the number of people that are coming here so that we can try to increase that total employment. Next slide, please. So how do we do that? We have a couple different efforts. Our sales team, which many of you know, Leslie McClendon, her job is to go out into the world and tell meeting planners, event planners, tour planners, why they should choose Yuma, Arizona for their event or for their tour. We can go to the next page, please. And so here's a few examples of what we've done this last year. Obviously, that's a lot of text. I'm not going to expect you guys to know that and understand it and memorize it. So I've got an example, if we can go to the next page. Oh my gosh, that is a disaster. Sorry, I thought I sent you guys the PDF for that. So what this is supposed to say, imagine these. Leslie's been working with a group called Destination America. They're a huge tour operator that is based out of the United States. So think about those 7-day trips where you get on a bus, they take you all around, they stop in 5, 6 different cities, they stay overnight, they do activities, they go to restaurants. So this is one of those groups that we had come here this last year, which is great because during COVID, those types of tour groups totally shut down. We saw it with Tour West. They closed their office here in Yuma. They're still operating, but they moved out of here in Yuma. And so in the building up after, luckily Leslie was able to continue that conversation with them during COVID to try to say, hey, once COVID's over, why don't you bring a group here? So this last year we had 4 different groups with Destination America. They had anywhere from 30 to 40 passengers in each tour. Those 30 to 40 passengers, that meant that they were staying in 20 to 25 hotel rooms. It meant that they were here for one night. It meant they had dinner with us. They did the date night dinners. It meant that they had a lunch with us. It meant they had a breakfast with us, and they had some time to shop. And so without calculating in like the shopping and all those kind of extra costs, extra things, that's about $42,000 in economic value from just this one company bringing this one tour 4 times over this year. I would say let's go to the next slide because I have what we're looking for this next year, but obviously you can't see that. And so for this next year, they're currently looking at coming for 10 different nights. Some of those are moving to 2 nights, which is the goal in tour and travel, is to try to, we impress them for 1 night, and then they keep bringing those groups back. They bring different types of groups that they work with. And so this next year, we're expecting them to do, hopefully, they're scheduled for 10. They probably won't get to 10. They'll probably do, hopefully, 7 or 8. But extending to that second night is going to be really important. And so we're talking closer to about $180,000 in total economic spend for that group. And so those are the kinds of incremental growths that we can see when we do these sales efforts. When we go to these shows, we keep that relationship up with tour operators. Tour operators are kind of creatures of habit. They need to have that relationship for them to be able to build a destination into their tour packages. And so that kind of maintaining of Leslie's job and making sure that she was able to keep that relationship up was really important, because now here we're going into a second year of this one particular group, and we're going to see some pretty good growth, hopefully. So that's one of the really good examples of what we hope that we can do from our sales side. All right, we can go to the next page. Oh my gosh, let's go to the next one then. And so then another big part of what our organization does, obviously, is marketing. I'm a big believer in marketing. I mentioned Coke earlier. You know, we would not be drinking Coke if we had not been told our entire lives that Coke was important. The same thing goes with choosing a destination. A lot of people a lot of communities fall on they're going to come here because they know us. They're going to come here because we are XYZ. And, you know, that doesn't always work. You look at Las Vegas in the, early 2000s, they changed their brand. They said, you know what, we're not what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. We're the family destination. I don't know if you guys remember that, because it was very short-lived because it failed spectacularly. Because people were like, no, I don't want to go there for my family. I want to go there because what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. And so really important to make sure that you understand what the community is, what the community is looking for. And so that's our job here with Visit Yuma. We can go to the next page. Hey, a page is not all screwed up. That's great. We obviously have our social media pages that we manage. We can go to the next one. We do some marketing through billboards. We can go to the next one. And we have our website. Our website is obviously the thing that we end up pushing everyone to at the end of the day. We can go to the next page. And we have an app that we have so that visitors can plan their vacation when they come to Yuma. Something they can engage with at the visitor center. They can download, they can create their entire itinerary. That's through all of our membership. It's through businesses here in town. We put other stuff on there like you can do a self-guided tour of the murals in town, and you can do some other different types of stuff like that. Really trying to get people to engage in the community beyond just the few things that they had already planned out, beyond the prison, beyond their first dinner, but where else can they go? What else can they do? We can go to the next page. Again, this is supposed to say something totally else. This year, one of the things that we did is we worked with the Cabs with Midnight at the Oasis, and we helped them by promoting their event and buying some marketing, buying some Google ads, buying some social media impressions, acting as the organization that can say, hey, you know what? I think that we have the ability to help amplify your event out in the world and to tell people to come to you. You guys put on the event, and we're going to help you get that message out beyond just Yuma. We got about a 250,000 total impressions, and that was with about a $4,000 spend. That's a kind of platform that we really hope to be able to take into the future, where we can work with other event producers and groups that produce an event here in Yuma, and we can try to help work with them to get that message out into the rest of the world. Not Yuma, but getting people from Phoenix and San Diego and Southern California and the Drive Market and all that kind of stuff to come here for that event. We can go to the next page. And that brings us to a new relationship we have. We're working with a company called J-Ray. They are a marketing and advertising firm. In the past, Visit Yuma has done all of the marketing and PR and advertising from internal. One of the things that struggles with for a small organization is you only have one employee you can pay for that position. And so then they have that one specialty that they're really good at. And so we would go through a phase where we created video because we hired a video person. Then we went into a phase where we only did print media because we had somebody who was really good with print media. And so this gives us an opportunity to kind of spread it out a little bit more, have a relationship with a company that can do all of those things because they're already building those relationships with the media for their other clients. And so we can try to tell the story of what Yuma has going on to a lot of different people than just the few that our internal staff could. We can go to the next page. And obviously that brings us to one of the biggest things that we produce every single year, which is our visitor guide. This is something that the city of Yuma tasks us with, is creating a visitor guide that highlights most specifically the city of Yuma. Our organization do see ourselves as an organization that promotes the entire county. Right now we're trying to find a way to work with either the county or with the cities, Somerton and San Luis, to find a way to get them featured inside of the visitor guide. Like I said, right now the funding comes from the city of Yuma, and so the primary bulk of the entire guide is about the city of Yuma. Obviously there's a lot of stuff in the entire county in there, but we'd love to be able to find a relationship with either the cities or with the county to be able to highlight the different cities as well. So it's not just featuring the city of Yuma and then having kind of sprinkle in the rest of the county, but actually having sections that we can dedicate to San Luis, Somerton, Welton, and the rest of the county. All right, we can go to the next page. And obviously one of the other main things that we do is we operate the visitor center. We moved here onto Main Street a year and a half ago during COVID. We can go to the next page. I suppose this might, yeah, there we go. And one of the things that we're trying to adjust is we're trying to do a better job of representing the community as opposed to just being a gift shop that sells, that kind of like roadside stuff that you buy at any kind of store, to really trying to focus on relationships with local producers, local companies that can say, this is something made here in Yuma, because our visitors, that's what they want to see. We're lucky here in Yuma to have the company or the storefront open that's the made in Yuma. That same kind of idea where we can have, Mama Bella's or Spirit Mountain Roasting Company sold inside the visitor center, because that's what visitors really want to see. They want to be able to take a piece of the community that they're visiting home with them. We do have about 10,000 visitors come through our doors every single year. Those are people who are at the front end of their trip. So it's the first, they've planned on coming here, they come to town, they maybe have checked into their hotel, and they get to us and they say, what should we go ahead and do? And again, like I said, that's kind of our job here at Visit Yuma, is to tell people what they should be doing here in Yuma. can go to the next page. And here's just some pictures of the visitor center. We can go to the next page. One of the big opportunities, which is not something that happens in destination marketing very often, but we're really excited about, and we felt like we had to share, is through the Recovery Act, the federal government gave the state government $101 million. And that $101 million, then Governor Ducey tasked the Arizona Office of Tourism with creating a grant program, which ended up being about $61 million in grants over this, starting last September. And then this September will be a second funding period. And Visit Yuma was lucky to get a grant, and we can go to the next page, see if it's even there. Oh, no. We were lucky to get a grant for $124,000 from this. It's a really exciting opportunity because, like I said, those types of grant opportunities don't happen in destination marketing very often. It's usually something the community is expected to have the money to promote itself. So we're pretty excited to have this opportunity. Thankful to Governor Ducey for thinking that this is the best path forward with that money. It's also important, and I will say this to everyone who can hear, this is a grant process that is open. There is 3 different phases. There is a destination marketing one, which organizations like like Visit Yuma can fall into. And then there's also 2 others. One is outdoor recreation and golf courses specifically. And so there's like 35 legacy golf courses. So one of the Yuma golf courses applied for some funds through this. So very excited, and we're glad that they got that. And then some outdoor walking paths and that kind of stuff that organizations can apply for. And the other one, which is something we're really trying to push out and tell everybody about so that we can get more people to apply for it. It's a event-specific grant opportunity. I assume that in September this grant opportunity will come up again. It's available to any event being produced that can any event being produced. So someone like Midnight at the Oasis or the Tamale Festival in Somerton, they do have to they have to propose a slight increase in the year prior's event. And so they would need just a little bit of that. But we do want to see more people applying for that here in Yuma County as a whole. This last year, I would say we got, as a county, kind of a lot less of the funding than I feel like we should have. Like I said, there's about $60 million in grants total. $40 million is being spent by the state organization. So out of that $60 million, Yuma County got, less than $1 million. So we want to make sure that we, as a county, probably even less than $500,000, we want to make sure that we as a county are applying for that. And finding more people who can get that grant. So if you guys know any event producers who are currently producing events or thinking about producing a new event for this next year, have them get in touch with me, and I would happily walk them through this process because we want to see more of that money coming here to Yuma so that we can get that and spend it. Next page.
You bring any cards with you?
Sorry?
Cards.
I do have cards, yeah. We can go to the next page. Obviously, membership is a big part of our organization. Again, sorry for the arrows. Those are supposed to be numbers. We have about 330 total members. That ranges everywhere from RV parks to hotels to restaurants and all of the services around hospitality and tourism. We can go to the next slide. And the next one. And so just a little bit of a breakdown of where Visit Yuma currently has our funding. The left side, that is our spend. That's where we spend. Obviously, you see that salaries is one of the biggest one, the blue one. On the right side, that is our incomes. Most of that money comes from the transit occupancy tax that's collected through the city of Yuma. With more development of hotels in this area, and especially with conversations about hotels being in the county as a whole as opposed to just the city, this is something that I think that we need to start considering as a county is how we can capture that and how we can get some tourism funding from it. Like I said, our goal is to promote the entire county. Right now, we only have a couple hotels in the county, but I do see that there's a lot of opportunity for growth here in the future throughout the entire county. We can go to the next page. All right, so that all comes to what are we looking to do? We can go to the next page here. And this is something that we gave you guys that we passed out. Okay, good. So this is our strategic plan. This is developed through a survey of the community. It was developed by a small team and that we worked with through Visit Yuma. And I won't say everything on here, but obviously one of the things that we need to do as Visit Yuma is try to embrace the community brand a little bit better, represent all of the county better than we had in the past. And that's a really big goal of mine, is to try to make sure that we're not just representing the city of Yuma, but we are embracing the entire county. And yeah, we have 3 different areas of focus. I'll let you guys look at those things later. Next page. Oh, wow, okay. That was supposed to be words that we're saying, we're going to focus on marketing. We're going to focus on sales. We have the visitor center. Those are the things that we really see ourselves focusing on and making sure are the top priorities for us in the future. And also making sure that we work on strategic relationships in the community. We can go to the next page. There we go. There's a page that's not screwed up. And this is the team that we work with over at Visit Yuma. See, that one's a hard page to screw up there, so that's good. And so we are all here at the service of this community. It's people that are passionate about their community. That is usually the first thing that you find in tourism, is people that love their community and want to tell the story of it out to the world. And that is most certainly who we have on our team. So, and I think that's the last one. Go to the next page. And there you go. There's a bunch more arrows and some of my information, but I'd love to leave some cards. And again, like I said, especially for that grant opportunity, I'm not exactly sure when it opens up, but it is something that's going to be available to anyone who wants to apply. And we need to see more people applying for that, because again, that's a lot of money sitting out there, and I don't want it to just all go to Maricopa.
So I apologize, Mr. Chairman. Does Kim manage that, or who manages the grants?
Yeah, it's managed through Kim's team. Okay. Yeah. So they have like a industry-led kind of group that reviews and approves them. And like I said, the entire grant process came up last year in August, and they announced it like the end of August to open up in September. And literally 30 days from when they announced it, they closed it. So like it was here it is, here's, up to $60 million of grants available. And I think they had who they wanted to give it to on the top of their mind. And so that's where I'm like, okay, we have to make sure that we're telling everyone else, especially here in Yuma, that this money's out there and we need to get some.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Mark, thank you very much for that presentation. Thank you. With all the technical difficulties, I think that the main points remain. The main points. All right, item number 3, Chairman will proclaim 15 to 21 as Older Americans. Oh, wait a minute, no, Public Works Week. We'll start with Public Works Week.
Okay.
May 15th to the 21st. And we'll have Supervisor Simmons do that. Read the proclamation. Supervisor Simmons, I suppose there's some people here from the Public Works Department
Yes,
that are ready to take that. Right, Josh. Okay.
Go ahead and read it.
Yep.
Okay, proclaiming the week of May 15th through the 21st, 2022 as Public Works Week in Yuma County. Whereas Public Works employees provided service to our community and are an integral part of our citizens' everyday lives. And whereas the support of an understanding and informed citizenry is vital to the efficient operation of public works systems and programs such as streets and highways, solid waste collection and improvement districts, and whereas the quality and effectiveness of these facilities, as well as their planning, design, and construction, are vitally dependent upon the efforts and skills of public works officials, and whereas the quality and effectiveness of these facilities, whereas the efficiency of the qualified and dedicated personnel who provide public works services are materially influenced by the people's attitude and understanding of the importance of the work they perform. Now, therefore, I, Marco A. Tony Reyes, Chairman of the Yuma County Board of Supervisors, hereby proclaim the week of May 15th to the 21st 2022 to be Public Works Week in Yuma County. And I cannot
Should have
talk.
worn my orange T-shirt.
That's right.
I wore orange.
Yeah, well, I forgot that. But anyway, my face is turning orange now.
Morning, Mr.
Okay.
Chairman, members of the board, Josh Scott, Public Works Director. We've been doing this for a number of years now, but this week's about celebrating the public works professionals, particularly those we have here in Yuma that are always ready to serve and resilient in their ability to overcome any challenges they face in that service. So I tell people this is the best job I've ever had. It's because I get to work with a crew like this every day, and also because of the support we get from the top. So thank you, members of the board, and to Susan for all the support overall.
I'm gonna give you this. Just don't expect the check in the mail. I won't do that. We're from the government. We're here to help. Somebody needs to buffer me from the supervisor. There you go.
Okay, some over here.
Yeah. It's the other side that you read.
Come on, yeah, red. I love red. Yes, okay.
Sideways better. Why they know? Are you sure? Because it looks to me like it's a wise. Thank you, guys.
We keep seeing you.
Thanks, guys.
Step aside, step aside.
I think we're gonna read that early proclamation at the end, so just take it easy, take it slow. Thank you, guys, for the Public Works. Those of us who travel to get to a meeting, we learn to appreciate them even more.
I know.
We travel some of those roads. The next item is item 4, Chairman proclaiming May 22nd as 2022 as Older Americans Month in Yuma County. I kind of felt appropriately to do it, but Supervisor Pancrase beat me to it. So Supervisor Pancrase, you're next.
I serve on that committee, so that's the reason. So anyway, proclaiming May 2022 as Older Americans Month in Yuma County. Whereas Yuma County includes the growing number of older Americans who contribute their strength, wisdom, and experience to our community, and whereas communities benefit when people of all ages, abilities, and backgrounds are welcomed, included, and supported, and whereas Yuma County and the Western Arizona Council of Governments, WACOG, Area Agency on Aging recognize our need to create a community that provides the services and supports older Americans need to thrive and live independently as long as possible. And whereas Yuma County and WACOG Area Agency on Aging can work to build an even better community for our aging residents by planning programs to encourage independence, ensuring activities are responsive to individual needs and preferences, increasing access to services that support aging in place. Now, therefore, I, Marco A. Tony Reyes, Chairman of the Yuma County Board of Supervisors, do hereby proclaim May 2022 to be Older Americans Month. I urge every resident to recognize the contributions of our older citizens, help to create an inclusive society, and join efforts to support older Americans' choices about how they age in their communities.
It's my birthday. I'm not going to say what my birthday is next week on the 21st, just letting everybody know just in case. But this inclusiveness thing, I mean, we call it older Americans, but in reality, it's older citizens of every stripe. I mean, especially in a situation like we have in Yuma, where we have people from Canada, people from Mexico, people from other countries.
San Luis serving on the Board of Supervisors?
Yeah, no, what I'm trying to get to is we call it older Americans. And I suppose we mean Americans everywhere, but it's older people. It's older. This is the month we celebrate older people. I mean, we get people here from other countries. and people here who get older not very gracefully. I'm not going to get into that, but anyway, you know, we do this every year, and someone from WCAG, from the Council of Aging, would be present to receive the proclamation. They're not here, so we're going to have Supervisor Pancrase, who's a member of that,
I will drop it. I will
to
take it
take
to
it
them.
and,
Yes.
and get it to them. Okay,
Well,
thank you
I
very
have
much.
to tell you, WCAG has a very large number of services they provide for older Americans, and all you have to do is call WCAG or get on their website, and it'll help you find things for your parents, for yourself, for your neighbors that will be able to help them stay in their home and live as long as possible. So
Please don't forget. All right, let's move on. We're moving on to the consent calendar, and the consent calendar have items that are listed under the consent agenda, which will be considered as a group and acted upon by one motion with no separate discussion. Unless a board member so requests, in that event, the item will be removed from the consent calendar for separate discussion and action. Are there any items to be removed? There's a change on item number 8. I think there was one of the members that was supposed to be in that list pulled out his name. And I'd like to talk briefly about number 9, because we do have to, make some decisions on that. So 8 and 9 I'll pull. Is there anything else? If not, I'll enter a motion to go ahead and approve items 1 through 15? Through 15, with the exception of 8 and 9, which we'll discuss. Is there a motion? Is there a second?
Second.
Been a motion and second to approve items 1 through 15, with the exception of 8 and 9. No discussion on these items. All those in favor of the motion signify by stating aye. Aye. Anybody opposed? Is there anything that the elections department, before we finish that, need, any other than what's in here? We don't need to pull anything out? Okay, all right. Because I see you standing there, kind of looking like, all right. So all those in favor again of the motion signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries. I'll pull item number 8 because there was a notice that item number 8 is human resources. It's to approve the recommendation from the county administrator recruitment and selection committee for the committee to interview the following 3 candidates on Wednesday, May 18, 2022. And we had three names listed under the calendar. And I did get a notice that one of them pulled his application out. So there's only 2 left. We were, come up, but just sort of like, okay, we wanted.
Members of the board, Jessica Rodriguez, Deputy HR Director.
Okay, so we wanted to have a choice anyway. So, you got 2 left. Are you going to still want to interview him and give him like what? Give him like a 1 and 2, 2 and 1 or something? It's going to be.
No, we will both interview. We will interview both of them on Wednesday this week at 9 and 10 a.m. in the morning.
And you plan to bring us a.
And then we
discussion
will
item?
bring you a recommendation for the June 3rd meeting, I believe it is.
It's kind of a little tight schedule. We don't have another meeting until then? No. 16? Well, I'm looking at you because obviously I was thinking, okay, well, this is what, the 16th today, the 15th, the 16th?
June 6th will be the meeting.
The 3rd is holiday.
Yeah, well, I'm thinking about how tight that schedule is going to be. Fortunately, they're inside. There are people that work already for us. So
Correct.
the
Both are
transition-
internal.
I mean, are you still leaving June the 6th or June the something like that?
I'll be here June the 6th, but I won't be here June 7th.
See, that's what I'm talking about. It's pretty steep. I mean, we should have, well, now that I think about it, we might have wanted a little more time for someone if it was coming from the outside to have a little more time to adjust. But because the 2 candidates that are left are from here, they can hit the ground running.
That's correct. Yeah.
Right, we'll interview them and see.
Yeah,
what they come up with.
we'll interview them this week. So we'll have some time to decide and bring a recommendation to you.
So the next meeting is when again? June what?
6th.
So the same day? You're going to be picking up your replacement the same day that you're leaving, if that replacement is willing?
I'm not going to say.
Okay. Okay, well then that's it. We just wanted to make sure that was recorded. So any questions, any comments? No? Will you guys feel comfortable about choosing the replacement for Susan the same day she leaves? Okay, I'll entertain a motion to approve the item as listed with the particular.
I'll make a motion to approve the item as presented.
Second.
Okay, so there's been a motion and a second to approve the item as presented with the particular exception of Mr. Marsh. Any discussion on the item? If not, all those in favor of the motion signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. And the item number 9, which is again to appoint members for the to the public defender recruitment and selection process. The reason I pulled the item out is because I saw that one of the members of the committee that you wanted to appoint is also an employee of the department. You know, is the current deputy director going to be in the running?
No, the people on the committee are Supervisor Lyons, Supervisor Porches,
Mm-hmm.
And then,
who is the Director of Legal Defender's Office,
Mhm.
not Public Defender's Office.
Or legal defender. So there's
Yeah,
no.
they're two separate offices, completely different. And Ron Jones, who's our current contract conflict administrator, and then the county administrator, myself.
Well, I saw legal something there. I sort of, I guess, I thought they were the same department, but they're not. One is a legal defender and the other one's a legal what?
correct, that is correct.
Public defender.
Public.
This, Mr. Fox is from the public defender?
He's from the legal.
Legal defender. Damn. See, that's why I called it up.
Birthday next week, it's already catching up.
And you know, some people are catching up pretty quickly. Okay, so, right, that's the question I had.
Okay.
So they're not from the same department.
No, they're not.
I didn't want somebody to be put in an uncomfortable position having to say yes or no to
Right.
who could be their boss.
Separate departments.
Yep, separate departments, okay. Having cleared that up, do I entertain a motion to go ahead and proceed as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, there's been a dual motion here, you have to pick one. This way, whomever you heard first, pick, you know, okay, so she's closer to you. And there's a second by Supervisor Lyons. So there's been a motion and a second, any more discussion? If no more discussion, all those in favor of the motion signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much, Jessica. That wasn't that painful. Okay, that takes care of the consent items, and we move right on to the action items. And the first item in the action item section, discussion and action items, where we'll open up each of the following items separately for discussion and action as appropriate, and we'll begin with the Public Health, County Administration Services District Emergency Management, discussion and possible action regarding COVID-19 updates and activities.
Hi,
Director.
good morning, Chairman
morning.
Reyes, members of the board. So we continue to provide,
Your name again?
oh, I'm sorry, Diana Gomez, Director of Public Health. We continue to provide vaccination clinics at our health department Monday through Thursday. And again, walk-in appointments are welcome, or not, you don't need appointments, walk-ins are welcome. We are still waiting on approval for the vaccine for children under 5. I believe that Moderna submitted a request for approval on Monday of last week, and they're anxiously waiting to have that approved. We're still hoping that that approval will come down before the start of the school year, hopefully next month. And so again, that would be the approval for 6 months of age up to 6 years of age. So that would cover that gap and those kids that we still have not vaccinated. We also partnered with the Yuma County Library, and we've seen in the past that testing options, you know, you have those peaks and then you have those times when nobody shows up for for testing. So what we're doing is we partnered with the Yuma County Library, and you can get a free take-home COVID kit by calling the circulation desk if you want curbside pickup, or you can go ahead and request one as well. You must be over the age of 18 to get one. But again, those are available at all the library branches. We're really grateful to our library system for their partnership and for enabling, again, that no matter where you live in the county, most people visit the library, that option is available to them. We're seeing our positivity rate trend up a little bit. It was hovering around 2%. It went up to 7%. Again, lots of events, and we expect to see that. We want to remind people that vaccines are safe and effective, and even though we've seen some breakthrough cases, as you know, we see more prevalence of different variants, vaccines are still incredibly effective in preventing severe illness and death. So again, if you have any questions, please reach out to your trusted healthcare provider or the health department. We'd be happy to answer those for you.
I have a couple of questions. One has to do with hospitalizations. I mean, I know that the positivity rate, which is when people find out they have it, it's gone up a little bit. Has the admissions to the hospital gone up at all?
No. We have not seen an uptick in hospitalization. So again, that's good news. And we monitor that very closely.
You know, because of my old age, I don't remember what we call the medicines that are used for it, but are they widely available now?
So yes, we are in a much better place as far as treatment options. There is a variety of antiviral medication that is available to people. And again, we recommend that people who are in that high risk category because they're immunocompromised or because of their age, speak to their healthcare provider, and that may be an antiviral medication, might be an appropriate course of treatment. Again, you have to have that conversation with your healthcare provider.
Mr. Chairman.
Sure.
Diana, speaking to a couple people who actually contracted COVID for the first time last week, they went to El Centro to get the monoclonal treatment. Is that something that we don't or can't offer here?
There's monoclonal treatment was something that was offered early on. The reason that it's not generally used as often anymore is because it's not as effective against the Omicron variant. So again, I think it's determined on what type of, I don't know if they're genotyping, but there's variations. And again, it comes down to the specific patient. So some of that was discontinued due to the effectiveness. You never want to have somebody, well, I guess you always want to err on the side of caution. So you risk those benefits, and you never want to give somebody something that you think won't be as effective. But again, that's a conversation between the individual patient and the provider who knows their healthcare history best.
Do you have visitors today from a foundation?
We do. We have the Kresge Foundation here. They're actually, they're a really big organization who've been an amazing partner and supporter of our COVID outreach efforts, just general health and wellness. And they are down in South County meeting with some of the community members about some of the activities. Yeah. So we're really excited to host them.
Any other questions for, this is, the shorter your presentation and the simpler it is, the better it seems to be outside. So I'm not going to keep you here longer so that you don't give people the impression there's a lot of stuff going on. Anything else? No? And bring Tony up.
Thank you.
Tony Badilla. Older Americans Act is going to catch up to us, Tony.
Good morning, Tony Badilla, Director of Emergency Management. My report will be very short and sweet. The testing process, as you know, the tests are becoming readily available at home use. A lot of your local temporary testing sites have closed down. There's some still available, but most of the time people have no problem finding testing opportunities out there. So, with that.
Are you having a meeting tomorrow?
I have a meeting today, tomorrow, and probably every day this week.
I'm talking about the AZEMA.
Yeah, the Arizona Department of Emergency Management, Military Affairs will be in town tomorrow for a meeting. Yes.
Mr. Chairman, can we place on the agenda an ongoing update from Tony regarding the migrant situation, as he and I have been working on that almost on a daily basis?
Well, so
emergency. Give a report here to the rest of the supervisors.
Emergency management. I hate to get the immigration issue in front of us here because it's going to make, it's going to bring in a level of involvement that the county is not really, as a county, we're not really totally friendly involved in it. We can, if there's emergency management and there's a report, if you want to give a report on what you think the conditions are at the border or what you see the conditions are at the border, we'll have to open it up.
Tony's participating in a lot of meetings, and there's a lot of resources coming to the county, and it will impact Diana's job. It will impact other areas of the county. So I think it will be critical. It doesn't belong to the city. It doesn't belong to Somerton, San Luis. It really belongs to the county.
All right. Well, I'm going to open it up a little further up in the agenda. So district emergency, you will be able to give us an update on what you see as a current emergency at the border. Okay?
I like that.
Okay. All right.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Tony.
Thank you.
All right. Engineering. We have the next item, and the next one is engineering discussion and possible action to approve the following for the McGreen Industrial Park Unit number 4 CIP number 1-2204. Number A would be number, but it would be 2A. A loan from Yuma County to the Great Yuma Port Authority in the amount of $2,228,000, subject to the terms and conditions of the loan document, which supersedes the action taken by the Board of Supervisors on March 7, 2022, and award the construction contract for the McGreen Industrial Park Unit number 4, CIP number 1-2204 to DPE Construction Inc. in the amount of $4,178,000, and authorize the county engineer to sign the contract. Frank?
Good morning, Chairman Reyes, members of the board. Frank Sanchez County Engineer. We bid the project out, Magrino subdivision, and we got 3 bids. The low bidder was DPE at $4,178,000. As part of constructing this project, ARPA funds were being used to help fund the project, in addition to a loan from or monies from the county. The board requested that there be some guarantees for that loan from GYPA. We currently there's a packet in front of you that has those guarantees. The only item, the deed of trust, at the time of when we gave you guys the packets, was not signed by GYPA. As of a couple minutes ago, it's been signed. So I would recommend that the motion reflect that if the board approves it, based on legal's review of that executed document.
And I understand that the last day to make that choice is today? I mean, the bids were open and we have a deadline to get.
We actually have a couple more days. We have 50 days to award the contract or reject all bids from the date of bid opening. So the last day that we can actually award the project or reject it is May 27th. That's the 50-day deadline.
Any questions from the board? We've been working on this for a while now, and the only thing that was, I think, holding it up was the guarantees from the different entities. It was a requirement by legal that we go ahead and secure the loan. It was actually not a requirement from legal only. It was a requirement from the board that we found a way to secure that loan, and it got a little sticky there for a while. But I think I want to thank Susan because she stuck to it and finally got them to come through. Well, I'm not going to talk about who we got them to come through, but you know, they finally came through with the guarantees, and so everything is set to go, and we're ready to go. And without getting into details, because that's not what's listed on the agenda, we will get into details pretty soon after this and ask Mrs. George to give us a full report of what's happening out there, what's actually happening out there. Okay. All right. I'll entertain a motion to approve the item 2A and 2B as presented.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve 2A and 2B as well.
But you need it separate?
Just amend the recommended motion to a review of the deed of trust by legal.
Subject, Mr. Chairman, I will make a motion to approve 2A and 2B, subject to approved by legal.
Legal, yeah.
Okay, all right. So there's been a motion and a second. Any more discussion on the item? If not, all those in favor of the motion signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Proceed. Thank you. I know it was a long time coming. I could see the relief in Susan's face when she didn't want to. Okay, well, we move on to Public Works as the Board of Directors, Yuma County Improvement District number 2017-02, which is the Tacna one.
On this last item, I would really like to thank Minda Davy as well as the rest of the county attorney's office for their assistance in making this happen. So if you can stand up so they can see your face.
Who? Oh, there she is. Oh, all right. Well, stand up. The kids can barely see your face. So stand up and be recognized. You did a lot of work on this. Thank you very much. All right, well, back to where we were. As the Board of Directors of Yuma County Improvement District number 2017-02, which is the Tacna Water, accept and approve the construction plans, specifications, and cost estimate, which is the final design for the Tacna Water infrastructure system within the district. There will be a PowerPoint presentation, very brief. He left, the county engineer left. And as part of this item, oh, wait a minute. 3? No, we will take this item first and then move on to the next item. Okay.
Good morning, Rachel Stallworth, Yuma County Public Works Improvement District Coordinator. Supervisor Reyes, I'm going to ask that you open both items, if you will. So, because there's going to be discussion about the assessment diagram that will be more extensive in the resolution of intention.
Right.
Okay.
So I kind of felt that we were moving on to, I didn't realize there were 2 separate items until I actually looked at number 4, but I felt that most of the stuff, if not all this stuff, was related to number 1. So, and we're now meeting as actually the Board of Directors of the Improvement District. Wanted to make sure that that's on the record. So
yes,
the items that are going to be discussed basically at the same time as a Board of Directors, we will adopt a resolution of intention, number 2012, declaring its intent to improve certain areas within the districts by installing or by the installation of a water system, determining that improvement bonds will be issued, a loan agreement entered into, and grants accepted to pay costs and expenses thereof. B, declare the work of or improvement to be of more than local ordinary public benefit, and that cost of said work or improvements will be assessed upon the assessment district. 3, or C, approve assessment diagrams providing that the proposed work or improvements will be performed under the provisions of Arizona Revised Statutes 48-901 and 48-966, inclusive and all amendments thereto, and authorize the board chairman to sign the same, establish a date and time for public hearing regarding the resolution of intention to be June 21st, 2026 at 6 p.m., and direct the superintendent of streets to mail notices of resolution passage and notice of hearing to all owners in accordance with Arizona Revised Statute 48-916 and 48-918.3. Okay, now we got everything in there. I hope.
Chairman Reyes, members of the board, I do want to introduce the district engineer, which is Maria Brady with Stantec Consulting. She's done a number of projects with us over a 20-year span. So she's very familiar with Yuma County and has done a wonderful job for us in the past and will do a wonderful job for us on this project as well. She's going to do a short presentation on the final design and briefly just show you some pictures of what the assessment diagram looks like, and we'll talk about that in the next presentation. So, and if you have, I'm going to let you go ahead and
run the
use
clicker
and hope that that works, and if Annie can.
So which way goes
Thank you.
down? This one? Let's give it a whirl.
Go for it. Yeah, there you go. Okay.
There we go.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for your time. I appreciate it, and I will keep it brief. We just want to go over a little bit of the history of the project need, what it was all about, what the current water design is, some of the funding and where we're at in terms of funding, then a basic schedule, and then the assessment diagram discussions. So the project, back in the early 1980s, along in there, an existing water system was put in place for the Tacna residents, and it went through a number of iterations over time. And it was a private water company owner that held that system, and he passed away. And the heirs are not interested in running the facility, and we've got a number of issues at the facility right now. It's operated under a groundwater well supply, and that does not meet the drinking water standards at this time, both from the standpoint of arsenic, and then it has very high TDS. Salt content. So it's not a drinkable water supply. So a new water supply system and distribution system was required. The residents banded together with the help of the district and the county and the board of supervisors here and formed an improvement district, 2017-02. So at sometime around, I think it started as early as 2019, 2020, we started, some WIFA money was acquired and Stantec was selected to help put a preliminary engineering report together and an environmental assessment. And that was finally finished and reviewed and approved in 2021 by Rural Development. It includes a surface water supply from Welton Mohawk Irrigation and Drainage District's main canal. A groundwater well will be a backup well for the system. It would have an 85,000 gallon a day treatment capability, 150,000 gallon a day storage tank. It has a new finished water pump station and approximately 25,000 feet of 6 and 8 inch pipeline, and 189 customer connections are anticipated. The existing service lines from the water meters will all be replaced, but the existing service lines on property will remain in place, so there should be very little disturbance to the residents themselves. The new water system will bring potable water, and it will bring fire to the residents with the larger pipelines that we have. This is an overview of the project, starting from the canal on the north down to the treatment plant, the square little box, down to the Tacna area. And then this is just an up close of the canal intake. There was a canal intake that was used temporarily for the private water company, and during the course of the project, it was determined that we would not reuse any of the original infrastructure and instead build brand new. So this is a new service a new connection into that main canal. And then there's an 8-inch pipeline that brings water down to the campus here. This is an overview of the campus. That large area over there, there's a backwash cycle in all of the treatment systems that are used, so we need a place to be able to percolate or evaporate that water, and that's what that large area is. This is an up close of the campus. The small retention area at the top is just for on-site drainage. Essentially, the water comes into the raw water pump station and then is pumped to the treatment system through a package treatment plant, out a chlorination station, and then into the round circle, the reservoir tank. In the tank, it goes from there to a potable water supply pump station and then booster pumps for fire flow and then back out of the campus. There's also, as I mentioned, on-site a backup well for the rare event that the district is ever offline. Welton Mohawk has identified that they never take the canal down, but because we're delivering a water supply system, we have to have a backup. Now, when the groundwater well is on, it will treat for arsenic, but it won't treat for the TDS. So it'll probably not be very tasty, depending on what we get for TDS, but at least it will meet the arsenic requirements for delivery as a potable system. And then this is just an up close of the pipeline system as it gets into the TACNA area. It's showing where water meters exist and where we will be connecting. The one tricky part about this project is that we don't know where the existing water system is, and we need it to stay operational until we're ready to turn it on. And so there'll be some coordination with the contractor in the field if he runs into the pipeline system and move things around. Well, the problem, blue staking only tells you where somebody's plans say that it's at. And there are no plans to say where it's at, so there's been nothing to blue stake, and there's nothing to pothole. Yes. So normally that would be what we would do, but that's been kind of a challenge. Oh, I think I went too far. Looked away. Backward. Okay, I'm in the right place then. Now we can go forward. Thanks. So this is an overview of the project, and it's probably no surprise to anybody that over the last few years, the cost of projects have been escalating significantly. So the construction cost has been escalated as well. We've been working with various entities about grant funding and also about then loans and so on. We're pretty comfortable that it's all going to work out, but right now we are a little bit short of some funding technically. And then go to the next one. This is our overall schedule that we finalized last week. The basics of this are that we'll be going to bid in June timeframe, at the end of June. Contractors will hopefully get their bids together by August 1st. We can come back to you the first part of August with an apparent winner, and then we can issue a notice to proceed. Now, unlike a lot of other projects, there's a big gap between the time we say we're ready to award and the time we're going to issue a notice to proceed, because there are a number of processes that you're all familiar with to finish the loan process for the improvement district. We anticipate construction to take 18 months or so. So you see it starts in December, ends in June of 2024, and then startup and commissioning are in June of 2024. There may be some follow-on efforts that the district needs after that for operation. And then this is just an overview of the assessment diagram, which is just a map that then zooms in on each of these specific areas, lines up with our design plans, and lists each of the properties, the basic information about the properties, and then sets up for the table that puts together what the repayment would be for each individual property owner. And I think that's it. If you have any questions.
Okay, do you have any questions before we move on to the meat of this?
I do. Maria, is there any ability for it to grow? I mean,
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
so it's been put in there so that if TACTA grows or becomes a lot more populated, the water system will still work for them.
Yeah. One of the things that always happens is we've got some basic criteria that we use to establish how much water per dwelling unit. Those are almost always more than what the actual reality is for communities, depending on the type of community. So that's one place. And the second is that we've estimated a certain number of water connections now that we're actually connecting, but we've also anticipated the total number of properties out there. And so there's room for those. Then there's some expectations, some might subdivide, that sort of thing as well. So there's room for some of that up to a degree. It can't become the size of Yuma, but it can certainly grow pretty easily without too much difficulty. And then the water agreement that we put together with Welton Mohawk gives room for even beyond that, I think.
Oh, good.
So,
okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Right. Well, thank you for the presentation. I think we know what.
Chairman, I just had a quick question too. On the fire part of it, you're going to be putting in hydrants throughout the town.
Yeah. So the fire hydrants are located about every 500 feet based on kind of an aerial, do they overlap on each other kind of thing. And that's probably one of the biggest things that changed from the preliminary engineering report to the final design is the level of fire protection went up significantly.
Right, thank you. Thank you very much. It was a great presentation. Can we, Rachel, no, I guess you're going to come back here. We're going to move on to the work that we do as the Improvement District Board of Directors. The first item is to adopt a resolution. Oh, do you need any action on the first part? It was just a presentation, wasn't it? Accept. No, we need to accept and improve the construction plans, the specs, before we move on.
I'll
Do
make
I
a
hear-
motion.
Okay. So there's a motion by Supervisor Simmons, seconded by Supervisor Pancrasi to move and accept and approve the construction plans, specification, and the cost estimates or the final design for the Tacna Water Infrastructure System within the district. Any discussion on the item? No discussion. All those in favor of the motion signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries. Congratulations to the supervisor from that district. That thing seems to be moving forward. It was a big project. It is a big project. And as Supervisor Lyons would say, we better move fast.
Better move fast, because the price will go up next week.
Yeah, because prices that keep going up. Public Works, now it's to continue with this item, we need to adopt a resolution of intention and to declare the work of improvements to be more of than local or ordinary public benefit, to improve the assessment diagrams, and to authorize the board chairman to sign the same, to establish the date and time for a public hearing, which is June 21st, 2022 at 6 p.m. in Tacna. I think we agreed that was going to take place in Tacna at 6 p.m. And to direct the superintendent of streets to mail notice of resolution packets in notice of hearing to all owners in accordance with statutes. Now, that would be you. You would be the
Yes.
superintendent of streets, right, Rachel? Or who? That would be the, Josh, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Yeah, Josh.
Thank you.
Okay, so it's a long list of items, but we talked about them in briefly. Do I hear a motion to approve as presented?
Go ahead.
I'll make a motion to approve items A through F for approval.
Is there a second?
Second.
And motion and second to approve those items as presented.
Thank you.
Is there any more discussion on the items, any of them? If
Just
not,
make a comment.
with comments? Okay, go ahead. No, it's okay.
Just a quick comment. I'd like to thank Rachel for all the work she's done on this, but I'd also like to thank Welton Mohawk Irrigation District because they've really worked closely with her to get the land and trying to think the word, the attachment to the canal to make all this happen. So I just want to thank both of them for their help in getting this to happen.
And I want to just end by saying that this takes a hell of a lot of work. It's very anticlimactic. We end up doing it in 5-10 minutes, but in reality, it's taken months, if not years, of work to get here. It's taken years to get here. So although it takes place in a very quick time frame, it is not something that happened overnight. This took a long time, and it's just been like one of those projects that becomes a multi-million project very quick, and then it keeps going and going and going. It's something that needs to be done as soon as possible. So whatever we can do to expedite the process, we're, I think, more than willing to do, and this is one of those items. Any more discussion? If not, all those in favor of the motion signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Go ahead and continue. The next item is county administration is discussion and action to approve an updated projects and programs for American Rescue Plan, ARPA funding. Susan, I think that you wanted to include was it the position that we talked about during the budget session? That was a new one. That one.
Excuse me, Susan Thorpe, County Administrator. Good afternoon. Good morning, Mayor.
Yeah,
Good
right,
morning,
right.
Chairman and members of the board. Yes, I do have some updates I would like to share with you. If someone could hand me the clicker, I can point to some things here. Thanks, Gil. So yeah, this is an update. As you know, the board recently approved the construction project for the Middle Mile backbone. And so up here at the first new item, if I can point, clicker that's not working. Okay. So the second item that says broadband-new, engineering-construction project manager for Middle Mile Backbone CIP. That is the individual from Michael Baker International that engineering has hired as a specialist to help with the project, the actual construction project of the Middle Mile, the $20.7 million project. So I've put that in as a new proposed expenditure. Except for the new items, the board has approved this as of September 20th, 2021. So today I would like for you to approve an updated version so that we have this on record that these items have been included. So down about 4 from the bottom, it says revenue loss - new, and that is where it shows the new FTE for the broadband program manager, the one-time funding for a computer plus 3 years of their salary and benefits, and then it would transition to the general fund, and so that's calculated at $302,500. So those two items were added. Then also in bold, we've gotten updated figures from the replacement ambulance for Tri-Valley. It's a little bit lower than originally budgeted. The housing department water line is a little bit higher than originally budgeted, so that updated figure is there. And then the GYPA water and sewer portion of the bid that you just approved
Go ahead, continue.
came in lower as well. So that came in at $2,329,635, which had originally been budgeted at $3,500,000. So net of the updated and new items is slightly less than the original approved in September. It's $464,000 less than original. So this is an opportunity because, in addition, the Treasury identified that all counties and cities can identify up to $10 million qualifying as revenue loss, which expands the types of projects you can spend the funds on, not just water, sewer, COVID, and broadband. So this is an opportunity to bring this to you to see, are there any additional projects that you would like to consider at this point in time? You can always do that at any point in the future. But at this point, with your commitments thus far, you have a remaining $15.5 million to designate for ARPA funding. That includes the Orange Grove, Rancho Mesa Verde sewer system, and any PM10 mitigation projects for which we do not have current concrete dollar figures. I will note that it also includes underwater, it says TACNA water system construction, if shortfall in existing grants. We're also going to be requesting future increases in grants for the TACNA water project, but this sets aside $1.5 million toward any shortfall in those grant opportunities from the outside agencies. So this is an opportunity for the board to identify additional projects that you'd like to consider, either adding funds to the existing projects listed or removing some of these from consideration, or in any other ideas that relate to the expanded ability for the board to identify ARPA funds. Now they have to be committed by December of 2024 and completely expended by 2026, or the remaining funds go back to U.S. Treasury.
I think we're in a good path. I just find the broadband engineering construction project manager and the actual what do we call it here? We call it the the one we have ourselves, revenue loss new, broadband project manager. What's the difference? Yeah, program manager. So we have a project manager,
So
construction
the
project manager.
is for construction.
Right, so that's what, that, I'm
On
trying
the
to figure out.
CIP project only. The broadband program manager is to continue to the work that I've been doing in concert with our grants people, as well as all of our partners in the region,
I get it.
to
One is the
expand the
construction
middle
manager, this
mile
manager.
and to find additional grants, and to make sure that that our middle mile is managed and continues as a utility for the next 50 years.
All right, I got it. I just wanted to know what the total, you know, I understand now the difference between the construction manager's position and it's a project manager during the construction program, and the other one is a continuing process of managing the broadband system over time. Anything else, guys, that you'd like to? I like the idea that at the end of the day, you know, and I got to give credit, just like I gave you credit for the Tagna project, to give credit to Supervisor Porches for keeping the Orange Grove area and Mesa Verde, you know, hot on this project, because eventually we will come up with the cost. And, you know, it'd be nice to think that, you know, part of that funding, we just need to get it done before 2024, from what I hear. We need to start, you know, narrowing it down, but.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
Susan, is there any of the funds that we could use here to use something that we're using from the general fund? Are there any trade-off funds that we could use?
So under the revenue loss category, part of the funding that ARPA can be used for is to offset general fund expenditures, so operating
The
expenditures.
construction expenditures.
So
and
yes,
things
it
like
could
that.
be
It could be
similar
used
to what we used previously with the CARES money. We paid salaries for public safety and health, and then that freed up general fund monies to be used for other purposes. So that is part of this.
Yes. But,
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, what I would like to see, just because we're proposing some budget increases here at the county, is for us to offset so that we could have a reduction in the amount levied against taxes as we look at the inflationary issues surrounding members of our community. I think it's important that we look for a way to offset some of that so that they don't bear that burden, since ultimately that's who we're working for. I'd like to see a 7% reduction in that levy, which, in talking to Gil, is around $3 to $4 million roughly. But using some of this money to offset that, especially because we're going into maybe some troublesome years, and start looking at a way to cut the costs.
You done?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Well, let me tell you, you know, I feel the need and I feel the tendency to try to cut, you know, the tax rate or cut the levies. But the problem is we have a 10-year plan that tells us if you cut the levy today, you're cutting it for the next 10 years. And I've always seen, in 20-some years that I've been here supervisor, I've always seen the ease at which we cut taxes, but the hardness it is to raise them up again. It is a good idea, but it's not, you know, this is more like one-time money, two-time money. And you're talking about cutting the tax levy from here forward. It's just a difficult thing for me, having been around a long time, to simply believe that what we're experiencing right now is what we're going to experience. I mean, if we're looking at our recession next year, because we have set aside funds for a recession next year, to cut taxes now, which are the main source of revenue for the county, not the grant money like ARPA funds or CARES Act money or all that money that the federal government has been pumping in, to use that fund to actually justify cutting tax rates or cutting levies is something that I think we've been working at for a long time. I mean, at least, working not to do, for a long time. We've set up systems so we can see the impact of tax cuts and levy reductions over time. I'd like you to take a look at that and not think that because we're funded heavily right now, we can cut those sources of revenue that are recurring sources of revenue because of one time or two times or 3 years or something. Think about that, because I would find it very hard. I think that right now there's a tendency to think that what we're dealing and experiencing right now is like normal. It isn't normal. We have a lot of funds that we can use as one time. I'd rather use it in construction to lower the cost of the construction. It would still improve our general fund, right? But it wouldn't do what I think it would do over time if we start cutting levies or tax rates. Over time, cutting taxes or levies are going to have an impact. I think that we need to use those funds wisely to reduce the impact on the residents, but we need to find a way that it reflects the one-timeness of the funds. In other words, if we find that we can pump in $5 million or $10 million into the construction price, it will reduce our forward payments by a shot, and it would help.
I agree with that as well, Mr. Chairman. I just was looking for some financial prudency just because most people around the nation having to tighten their belts.
Yeah, and I've heard, and we're going to go to the budget next, so we will be able to talk this a little more at length, but I've heard the arguments about, for example, I've heard the arguments that say, well, if you keep the same tax rate, there will actually be a tax increase because of rising home values. Well, the problem is we can't predict how long those are going to go up or where they're going to go. 2008 was an eye-opener for me. I thought home values were going to go up forever.
Sure.
Until we had a recession.
Right.
And so now I look at things a little bit differently. And I think that part of being conservative in your estimates is to understand that during good times is when you start looking at the bad times.
Right.
And that if you can, show some willingness to transfer those good times into the residents, that we find ways to make sure that the future supervisors and the future residents of Yuma County have the benefit, not us. But reducing tax rates, reducing levies is something that I find a little bit hard to do, not because I haven't done it before, not because I don't feel that there's a benefit to it. I just feel that we're sort of saddling the future people, and it may be you, it may be other people, with the decision to increase them when they need to. While if we keep it steady and level, it provides a bigger cushion for those people. And I think that, we come from city government, both me and the mayor here.
I'm sorry.
The former mayor. And what happens to us is that you try to keep like sewer rates and water rates low as long as possible. And you're always thinking, okay, well, the residents, and then you find yourself having to increase it like 10 or 20% because it's so difficult to raise them. Sure. When you have a problem. So it's better, if you can keep it steady, it's better to keep it steady and not make those those decisions later. But this we can discuss during the budget work session. The idea that you have to use some of the ARPA money to lower the cost or the impact on the residents, I agree 100%.
And maybe, Mr. Chairman, we don't take on as many projects as we're considering right now, and we delay some of them.
Okay, as a long-term supervisor, I'll tell you, having seen
I love your experience.
the projects in San Luis for a border crossing go from 67 million to 300 million.
Yep.
Haven't seen the project that we have in front of us turn from a $5 million, $7 million, $10 million to a $36 million. Leads me to believe that time is never on our side, and that inflation and the cost of living increases are just going to make those projects, if we wait any longer, even larger than we have right now. I think that the wise decision would be to use as much money as we can from outside to lower that cost and provide those improvements. But we can discuss that a little further along. And right now it's the ARPA. I was just about finishing doing that Orange Grove, Rancho Mesa Verde thing when this came up. But I think those $50 million that are left aside need to be decided on.
Well, I'd like to see us offset as much debt as possible.
Good. That is a good idea. All right. Anything that you need from us other than simply just accepting these modifications?
Yes, if you would approve the updated projects and programs, and again, you can bring this back at any time to update it.
We can bring it up.
How long do we have?
We have until 2024.
It's continuous.
Okay. I'll make a motion that we approve it as presented.
Is there a second?
Updated, presented.
Second. There's motion and second to approve the updated ARPA funds matrix or whatever it's called. Is there any more discussion on this? If not, all those in favor signify by stating aye.
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 Anybody opposed? Motion carries. All right, the next one is study session. We shouldn't call it a study session with the financial advisor. You should put like a presentation by the financial advisor.
Go back.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Gil Villegas, Chief Financial Officer. In preparation to our next debt issuance, we have prepared a brief presentation to inform the board about the current market conditions, the different financial tools that there are available for us to use, and of course, the schedule that we have to issue this debt. Today, this morning with me is Mr. Mark Reeder, the Managing Director for Stifel. They were the winning company for our financial advisor services. And what we're going to do here very quickly is just to give you mostly an update how the direction that we're taking in regards to this financing. So just a reminder, all the numbers that we're going to see today, they are just estimates, what we have been talking. We are taking this amount from the presentation that was given to the board back February 23, 2022, when we have estimates for the construction of the new administration building around $36.8 million. Modifications to the existing health building, around $17 million. A multi-departmental building of $11 million. The U of A office space and the emergency management office space renovations as well. The total cost that we have been, the number that we've been working with, and I have advised the financial advisor to do this, around $68.2 million. Again, let me emphasize, it's an estimate, and this is based as of February 23rd, 2022. So for the rest of the presentation, I'm going to bring Mr. Reeder so he can give you an update, like I said, on the market, the available financial tools that we have, and then go over the schedule that we're going to have for the future. Mark, you mind? Thank you.
Is this working, Bill?
I don't think. So
Okay.
we're going to have to ask Annie.
Okay. Annie, page 2, please. Mr. Chairman, members of the board, good morning. It's good to be back in Yuma, and it's good to be working with you again. We know this is a really important project for your county, one you've been considering for a long time, and we're here to advise you on the type of bonds to issue, the structure, and things of that nature, and ultimately selling the bonds in the market. I want to bring this to your attention here. So Gil's already talked about, if you go down below, this is essentially what we call the sources and uses of funds. It's a budget. Down below is the 682557. That's the number that the county is currently estimating for those projects, which is, as Gil said, will likely change. We're hoping down, but they could go up as well, as you all know. So
Appreciate the optimism.
So bear with us is our comment, is the word we're using lately. Okay, so then just down below, we've estimated some costs, of course. When you issue bonds, as you know, lots of people involved, lots of professional costs. We'll do our best to keep those as low as we can. Those are clearly estimates at the moment. Okay, so if we go up on top, we're the current budget we'd issue about $60.4 million in bonds, bond proceeds, which would be issued and deposited with the trustee for your construction projects, right? And then Gil has indicated that the health district contribution would be $2 million, and general fund reserves at the moment somewhere around $6.2 million. So it's nice that you have some flexibility with your cash balances. We know those are very important to you. You've done a great job in that regard, but to the extent you need to draw on some of those to keep the bond issue size down, that's certainly a nice option for the county as we move forward together. So I'll take a pause there real quick. I'm going to go through this pretty quick, but any questions so far on our budget? All good so far? Okay, page 3,
Bad
please.
so far, but yeah.
Okay, so we've worked together a long time. We've done several transactions with the county. Good job. You paid off essentially most of your debt, as you know, except for our pension bond that we worked together on. But essentially for our counties in Arizona, including Yuma County, we have really 4 different ways we could finance this project. We could finance it through a bond election, a general obligation bond election. Counties can certainly do, which requires a secondary property tax increase. Not something I believe at the moment the county wants to pursue, and not a very common mechanism throughout the state for our counties, but it is an option. The other option, which is more expensive for the county, is certificates of participation. That's essentially kind of a leaseback structure, which is doable, but would cost the county, and we're not recommending that option. So the 3rd and 4th are the recommended options. Number 3 is we would issue these revenue bonds, Yuma County excise tax revenue bonds. I'm going to walk you through that pledge of revenues that you would pledge. And the bonds would be repaid from the revenues from the county, primarily your general fund. And then, of course, cash. Unfortunately, our counties don't have, huge amounts of cash to fund or pay cash for public infrastructure, generally speaking. So you're going to do, it sounds like, a combination of your revenue bonds and your cash in moving forward. As far as the county is concerned, you're a AA rated county, very strong county. Limited debt outstanding. You paid all your debt off, as you know. Good job on that, with the exception of our pension liability, which you were going to have on the books anyway. You're a highly respected issuer in the marketplace, You've got great liquidity, you got a good management team, and so we're feeling very good when we get in the market over those 3 or 4 items. Next page, please. Okay, here's the interest rate index. You all see these every day. You're following the markets. You're following the mortgage markets. I want to say the 30-year mortgage is up to a 5.50 this week. I was lucky when I refinanced. I got 2 3/8 that back in the COVID period. So we're up a couple hundred, 250 basis points. We know that's not necessarily a good thing. On the right-hand side is our current market, and the municipal bond market is similar to the other markets in the world. The U.S. Treasury market rates are rising because, as you all know, of inflation. The Ukrainian-Russian war is not helping us because it creates additional interest rate spread, they call it. And so we're in a higher market than we were certainly back when we did your pension bond, as you know, in 2020. I'm going to give you some rates here in a moment. Next page. You know, even though rates have risen, I'm going to walk you through your estimated rates in a moment. I know that's important to you. This is a historical index down below that shows you over the last 10 years. The blue line is kind of where we're at. So we're still at pretty low rates compared to, as you can see, over the years. And then you can see the indexes on the right-hand side that I just mentioned that are going up on the 2, 10, and 30-year indexes in our bond market. So this is what we're kind of managing our way through right now. And I'm going to take you to the next page here as it relates to Yuma County. Sorry for all the numbers on here, but basically when we updated this, I think last week, if you look in the blue column, that's your estimated borrowing cost at the moment based on your AA rating, okay? So you see the 2.22 all the way down to 2.56, the 2.75, and as we go out, we're currently contemplating a 20-year amortization. County can do 25, the county can do 30, you can do something shorter. But we're trying to keep it at the moment, I think, over this 20-year amortization period. And as you all know, we give investors a little higher interest rate for each year to compensate them for inflation and perceived risk. So we're coming up with roughly, bear with us on this, I'm going to round if you don't mind, about 3.9%, what we call all-in money. Okay? As you know, interest exempt from federal and state taxation, that's certainly helping us. But in the blue line there, you can see what we're estimating the county to be as of last week. So I'll take you to the next page here. These are the pledged revenues that we've used before for your borrowings, and very common for Arizona counties to pledge this, what we call basket of revenues, if you will. And I'll just go to the far end there. You can see your county sales tax revenues, budget year 21-22 and budget year 2021. 2021, you had 18 million. I think that's the best that I can remember. I don't think the county's ever done better than that, as you know, on local sales tax revenues. So that's been a real positive for us. And then we have our state shared revenues that the county gets offset by all tax and access, because they net that money out before they wire your state shared revenues back to the county, so we have to net that out. So that's about 20 million. VLT, vehicle license tax, about 8.1 million. And then PILT revenue is about 3.8 million. So we're going to pledge roughly about $50 million in revenues to the investors. Very, very strong. Very, very diversified revenue stream of the county. What's going to happen next budget year, 22-23, we know you're all kind of getting your arms around that. We're all hoping that, we have some stable revenues going into next year. But as you know, there's some, uncertainty, of course, in our economy. We know you're working on those budgets now. So next page. This is just your outstanding debt on the pensions that we did together. And how do you like these rates? 0.4%. These were taxables too, if you remember, not tax exempts, out at 2.59. So we hit the market in December of 2020 and resulted in some significant expected savings for the county on your Tier 1, Tier 2 pension liability. That's the only debt that you really have on your balance sheet. Next page. So sizing in your transaction, In column 2, we have those pledged revenues of about 50 million. And then we have our tier 1, tier 2 pension refinancing that we did, as you can see there in column 3. And then we kind of did essentially layered in our 60 million. And you can see in column 6, it looks like it'll run us roughly about $4.4 million per year in an annual principal and interest debt service payment based on that 3.9% rate that I shared with you. So it kind of gives you a flavor for this amount of debt that you're going to issue for your facility improvements, what your impact will be on your general fund. So we can continue to work on that. And then we combined your pension and your forthcoming issue at 4.4 to get to our total debt service. And so the $7 indicates to investors that for every dollar of debt service you have $7 in revenues to cover it. So that's obviously considered very strong. Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
And this question is for Gil. Does this include the inflationary numbers that we were discussing earlier?
Thanks, Chairman, Supervisor Lyons. This is based on a $60 million issuance. Because of the way we structured the finances, we have to go with an amount.
Okay.
The amount is 60. Whether that number goes high or low, it's pretty much the decisions that we make here with the board.
Yeah, we're looking at what we expect the prices are going to cost. If they come in high, we need to be ready to sort of compensate.
Right.
If it comes in low, which I doubt, obviously there'll be some savings inherent in the process, but the interest rate will determine that too. So if it comes in at a higher interest rate, it will decrease the amount that we can use.
Mr.
Or
Chairman,
increase the amount we'll pay.
The way the process works, we have to kind of lock into a amount. So Mr. Reader could come up with some numbers, some estimates. I had to provide him with an amount, and that amount was $60 million.
Okay.
Right.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead.
Okay, one more slide. On our calendar, obviously, this is a study session. We wanted to bring you up to speed on these items for you. We have a fair amount of time. We know you're still studying, still getting some cost estimates, still being very careful and measured in terms of your decision making. On this calendar, really our next board meeting, unless you want to move it, is June 20th. Is the next time you'll see me, and that's really a public hearing we are required to have, counties are required to have in connection with the issuance of these revenue bonds. And we'll start to parallel track a lot of things, such as our credit rating conversations, a lot of stuff behind the scenes that we'll be working on. On May 31st, which I guess is coming up in a few weeks, we're required to publish a notice in the Yuma Sun that gives an estimate of the dollar amount and the estimated interest associated with the transaction and the types of projects you're considering. So that is kind of a deadline looming only because we got to get it to the Yuma Sun in advance of the June 20th board meeting. So that's when some of this will start to go a little bit public. We try to make it very conservative for you so that as you gain more information and you go to your final decision-making process, we can move those numbers up or down. So just want you to be aware that we will be working on that. So after June 20th, then we have to wait under the statute. We will be back in front of the board on July 6th, asking you to adopt a resolution authorizing us to issue the bonds and work closely with your staff to go ahead and execute. Then we would close the issue shortly thereafter. We have right now kind of the first week or second week of August, at which time you could award your construction contracts or you would have sufficient funds in order to obligate yourself under a construction contract, which is important, obviously. So with that, Mr. Chairman, I know that was fast. I hope it was helpful. Glad to entertain any questions.
It was, and I think it sets the table for the discussions that we're going to have about how do we handle inflation, how do we handle, the issues that basically impact how we address what the county residents are going to pay for. And I think that I feel that contrary to most of the times, there are options for us to deal with inflation, to deal with that within the system in here. I like the fact that we cap it at something and that's it. That's what we say. We're going to issue this much debt and we're going to try to fit every project that we can into that. And if we can't fit it into that, we're going to have to find ways to add from our general budget or from some of those HARPA funds to make sure that it works. I think overall, that should make even the investors feel a lot better because they're going to have a lot more collateral coming out for those projects than they put into, which is always a good thing. I hope it has an impact. I mean, I think we've set it up well. It's just a matter of the market now. Market moves the way it moves, and it doesn't move because of Yuma County's actions. It moves because of the market actions. So it's really tough to predict. But I do believe that getting through the process, capping it, and getting through the process is really critical for us to be able to take advantage, if at all. Now we're kind of a little late on the process now, but hey, you know, it's like I always said, time is not really on your side, and government doesn't move that fast. So we'll move as fast as we can, and thank you guys for putting it all together and bringing it to us so we can understand it. Any questions from the consultant?
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, the action item called for directions for us to continue with this process.
I think the direction will be to continue. Do I hear a motion to that effect?
I'll move.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, there's a motion and a second to continue with the process and bring it forth to the board for their discussion at a specific time and date, which in this case is, I think, June 30th, I mean 20th, the last meeting. Thank you,
Mr. Chairman.
thank you very much.
You have a vote on it?
Oh, yeah, I just thanked them. All those in favor of the motion signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Anybody in opposition? Motion carries. All right, so we move on now. I know we're moving pretty fast, but it's sort of like, this is the kind of agenda that could get a snag in one of them for a long time. So the next item for discussion is County Administration, Special Taxing Districts, year presentation, discussion, action on the Yuma County fiscal year 2022-2023 tentative budget as follows. Provide direction to staff regarding revisions and recommend of the 2023 recommended budget subsequent to department budget hearings and adopt the tentative budget for fiscal year 2022-23. Just to set this up a little bit, I know you're going to give a presentation, Susan, on it. I just want to tell you, tentative budget, although it may not sound like a final budget, it's basically technically your final budget. Anything that you do, you can't increase it. You can only move stuff around. So it is very critical step of the process. I hope that everything that you guys wanted or to talk about in terms of the budget itself was included. But if there's anything else that you want to discuss, you'll have an opportunity. Susan?
Good morning, Chairman and members of the board. This morning, I'm pleased to provide a brief presentation about the tentative budget for fiscal year 2022-23. As mentioned before, Yuma County remains in strong financial position, and we're bringing forward a fiscally sustainable budget for next fiscal year. On the next page, today's agenda, I'll go through in this presentation changes from the recommended to tentative budget to show you the decisions that you've made from May 3rd to today. Then we'll have the improvement districts will be provided to you as a handout later from Gil's office. Then we have the ability to have the interactive budget spreadsheet, which you also will have as a handout, and then we can go through it on the screen. General fund cash and debt service options that Gil can review further if you would like to see that after you see what's in our proposed tentative budget. And then the financial forecast and what-if scenarios that Tony Struck has through the long-range financial forecast, and he'll have that available as well. So next, our goals as we entered the budget process were to include a baseline approach, looking at every expenditure from the ground up to determine whether it was necessary and at the appropriate funding level. We also carefully considered all new budget requests and brought forward a recommended budget that then the board made some changes to. I'm pleased to announce that the tentative budget now includes a pay increase for employees of approximately 5%, as approved by the board in May, on May 3rd. And the health insurance premium rates will remain flat with no increase to employee premiums and no change in the employee's share of dependent premiums. So key challenges were inflation and its continuing impact on our ability to attract and retain talented employees, as well as pay for capital projects, infrastructure and facility needs that are reflected in the tentative budget, in our capital improvement project funds, legislative impacts caused by federal and state legislative actions that directly increase our county expenditures, and continuing our focus on strong fund balances. So I wanted to just show you, I highlighted the areas that are new since our discussion on May 3rd. All of these items are changes from recommended to tentative that the board approved on May 2nd and May 3rd. So as you can see, the new legal secretary that was approved in the county attorney's office, the transfer of a half FTE for justice clerk to the general fund, increasing the salaries by 5% instead of 4%. We have a set aside for further any kind of adjustments that departments might need to attract and retain employees. And one new item is the EORP rate increases that we just received from the state, which is an increase of $208,000. Other expenditures that the board approved was adding to the U of A cooperative extension additional 5% plus $2,000 for travel. Legislative impacts, we've changed that number because we've moved $150,000 of that original $1 million up to personnel-related potential costs. And so the remaining portion in legislative impacts still remains at $850,000 in case additional items come from the legislature that will impact us further. Equipment for the new legal secretary, the new additional cybersecurity programs that the board approved for ITS, and then an estimate that we're showing in the tentative budget to use $15.8 million of our cash above fund balance in the general fund to reduce future debt, which Gil will go over later because you saw in the previous presentation about $6.2 million. So Gil's going to explain the difference there. And then when we use that $15.8 million in cash, it reduces the debt payment by $1.24 million per year. So that's a good thing. And again, with the interactive spreadsheet, you'll see some of that in more detail. Next slide. We are showing the general fund balance. And as shown on the previous slide, it includes using the $15.8 million in cash toward building construction. And even so, the resulting fund balance is still slightly above the 25% balance that included the additional 5% recession contingency. And then as shown in this chart, the general fund balance has increased steadily over the past 7 years as planned. And the recession contingency is shown as an additional pink bar on top of the current 20% fund balance bar. And you can see our remaining funds are still above the 25% level. Moving on, staffing. So the tentative budget includes the board's approval of the one additional position in the county attorney's office for a total of 17.980 full-time equivalents. And then the shift of a half position between justice court, special revenue, and the general fund is a net zero, so it doesn't add to the number of FTEs above the 17.9. Next slide shows in highlight, there's the legal secretary that you approved. And then the next slide shows the switch in funding, which is a net zero for the justice clerk too. And moving on, here are the tentative fund balances for the library district and flood control district. So no changes from recommended to tentative. And then the next slide shows the fund balances in health district and jail district. And the one change that came from the board from recommended to tentative in the health district is the addition of a $30,000 in contractual services, which is to enhance animal control services. And the exact method will be determined by the health director in cooperation with other agencies. So showing our tax rates, the tentative budget includes 0 increase to the combined county property tax rate for all funds, as you can see here. And next, the chart shows the property tax levy over the past 15 years in the blue columns as compared to the allowable levy in the red line. And you can see that the board has adopted a levy well below the allowable amount for the past 11 years. Next, we show the county general fund property tax and a median home valued at $194,000, according to Zillow, paid an annual property tax fund of $488, and that same house, if it increased in value by the assessed value average assessor's increase, which is capped at 5% per year by state law, the annual general fund property tax will go up by $24 for that individual homeowner. So the 3 steps in our budget process includes today's presentation of the tentative budget. You already on May 2nd and 3rd held your budget meetings with all departments. And the tentative budget's here for your consideration today. We have the interactive spreadsheet and financial forecasting tools available to explore various options that you may want to consider. And then after that consideration, we would ask that you adopt the tentative budget, which is the maximum budget the board can consider prior to the final adopted budget. Then on June 20th, the board will conduct a combined budget hearing and truth and taxation hearing and adopt the final budget for fiscal year 2022-23, which goes into effect July 1st. So today we've completed changes from the recommended tentative, which was this presentation, and the handouts we weren't planning to go over for the improvement districts, but certainly if you do have questions, we can go over them. And then next we'll have Gil and Tony join us here up at the podium to be able to speak about the interactive budget spreadsheet, any cash and debt service options that you want to explore further. And Tony will be up here as well to go through the financial forecast and any what-if scenarios. So that concludes my presentation.
That was a good presentation, but I mean, that's the problem with people retiring. I mean, you know, once you learn how to do it really well, and this was a great presentation, short, quick, concise, everything. It's just, again, you're gonna have to. I hope we train whomever's next to do that quickly like that. That was a very good presentation, Susan, and you know, and I know that you can come up, Hill. It's okay. I mean. Oh, well, you know, Gil works all year to be able to be, you know, like to be present, to, you know, to be able to present some of this stuff. And I know Gil, but let me just wait until we have a question, if we have a question. Can you put that last slide, the one that says if the board has a question type thing? Okay, I know, oh, you're going to go through this again. Okay, well, just get to the last one. Or, yeah, second to last one. Okay. I'm waiting.
The house values?
No. Well, no, keep going. That, yeah, well, that one. Okay, here we are. You know, we've gone through every department budget. We, you know, had all the presentations. We had all the, you know, changes. We discussed the tax rate, which I was under discussion until the last. And we're now at the point where, okay, we've gotten enough information. We can get more. Now, I'm not sure that getting more information really makes the decision any easier, but I mean, the board of directors, if any one of you wants any more information, then let me know. I particularly don't need more information, but if anybody wants to hear, you know, we can hear it. Do you want any more additional information?
Mr.
Do you want
Chairman,
to talk about?
As we were looking at the financing, the thought occurred to me that we will have a couple buildings vacant after the completion of the building across the street. And we have about $15 million proposed for 3 buildings that are at the bottom of that sheet. Why not pause those last 3? Because we'll have the building at the end vacant, plus this building available to use. And I suggest that we pull those for the meantime.
All right. I mean, we're not.
That's a savings of $15
And let me just bring forth what should be in everybody's mind. The fact that we approved construction money this year does not mean we'll be in construction this year. You know, if you stop to think about it, between the time you approve the funding and the time you start construction, the time you finish construction, years go by. We will have, actually, the only thing that really concerns me through this process is not whether we're going to use some of the ARPA funds to reduce that way. It's when we have to do it by, which is December 2024, which comes up much quicker than we realize. So what I'd like to do in regards to those construction projects is to actually have a session where we bring all these projects and we say, okay, which ones are really, put them in a priority list so we can get some of them done faster. And I think the big ones we need to get done quicker because I think the economy is not going to get any better and they're not going to get any cheaper. So yes, I think some of those remodeling jobs we may be able to sort of put off for a while we just do the big ones and get them over with as soon as possible. And it's essentially, for me, that's because I've been here for 20-some years. And some of the older buildings, you know, are starting to show wear and tear where we're actually thinking, okay, what do we do with this building? And it's a 20-year-old building, a 20-some-year-old building. And we're looking at doing some improvements. And we haven't even finished with the building process that we had. We've done everything that I can think of as a board of supervisors for everybody else. This was the last project. The administrative building was the last project we had. Well, some of us had, not all. The new members here don't have that background to look at, but we did everything we could for the juvenile system, for the court system, we built, you know, additional locations for the assessor, the recorder, and the treasurer twice while I've been here. We've done public works department, we've done development services, we've done, I think even the health department got a little bit of that remodeling money some time ago, and we thought that was a great building. But I mean, things are catching up. And I think that I personally feel like my time is getting a little shorter now. But I want to caution, I mean, especially the new board members into thinking that this is like, okay, we do the budget this year and things happen this year. That is not normally the way the thing goes. It goes like the broadband process. I mean, we go through this urgent situation where we approve them and then we wait, and we wait, and we wait, and we wait. So I agree that we need to take a look at those projects. What I maybe don't agree is to put them aside and build them on them later. I think we need to leave them there and just work with them. And if we don't do anything, shift the money to something a little more important to us, some construction project. For example, if a member of the board, and I think we all do that, feel like we don't want to saddle the county residents with additional debt over a long time, then what we do is we take the money that we can and plug it into a project and make sure that the payments to retire the debt get even lower than $1.2 million. I think that's the best thing we can do with money that is just going to be here for some time. Is spend it on something that we would have spent it on anyway, but that would have saddled the residents with a lot more costs.
Or an overall reduction.
Or an
in debt.
overall reduction in expenses and payments. I think that's a wise thing to do. And I find myself in a very, very, it's not a strange situation. I think it's the result of years of watching it. But I find myself in a very comfortable situation here. What we're talking about is where do we put this money, not whether we have the money or not. And when I hear a board member say, well, let's put it in something that benefits the residents, I have no particular problem with it, other than understanding that this is really one time, maybe 2 or 3 year money. And we need to be careful that we look at it over the long run. When I look at the fact that, for example, the state only allows you to up your tax rate by 5%, it means if you reduce it by 7 and try to catch up next year by increasing it by 5, you can't. You can increase it by 7. You can only increase it by 5. So those type of things are a little dicier than making a decision where you have a little extra money and get the benefit to the resident. But anyway, I digress.
However, Mr. Chairman, it would be good to offset some of the inflation.
Well, I think so.
For
I
the
think
people
so.
that we work for.
Yep. Okay. Does anybody want to hear or see a budget spreadsheet or general fund cash and debt service or a financial forecast? Or are we ready? Are we ready to approve the tentative budget? We can always move the tentative budget inside, but you can't move it after this. So all we're approving right now, it's basically the budget. Inside of it, if you want to reduce the tax rate, if we want to do something, we can do that.
We can have those discussions.
Yeah, we can
Mr.
have those
Chairman.
discussions. We can always have those discussions. So do I hear a motion to approve the tentative budget? Okay, there's a motion and a second. Is there any more discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Aye. That's it, guys. Thank you very much, Guillo. I know you were ready for this, and I know you're gearing up, but, you know,
Gil,
sometimes.
come back for the other
Yeah,
discussions.
come back for the other
To
discussion.
move some of that money around.
All right.
Reduction in debt.
All right, well, now we got that done, and we're now moving into what, the planning and zoning agenda?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes? Oh, do we have to?
Chairman, members of the board, there are several
There's several
parts of that
points that need to be
motion.
made. One is a tentative budget. The other one to set the date and time for the combined public hearing for the fiscal year 2023 tentative budget, including taxation, as Monday, June the 20th. Do I hear a motion to set Monday, June the 20th?
Mr. Chairman, was there another comment? Nothing?
No, we just need to do that, right? We need to set the hearing date for the truth and taxation. That's what you can talk.
Make the motion as proposed.
Is there a second?
Second.
There's motion and a second to set the date and time for a combined public hearing of tentative budget, including taxation, as of Monday, June the 20th, 2022 at 9 a.m. Any more discussion on this? If not, all those in favor of the motion signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries. Feels like navigating a minefield. It just seems easy, but it isn't. Thank you very much. We'll move on to planning and zoning agenda, where we have full legal descriptions of property sites for all rezoning cases are available for public review. We have at the supervisor's office, we have full presentation calendar. One of them is the item which will be a regular public hearing item. The staff will make a full presentation on each of the following items, followed by separate discussion, public hearing, and action by the Board of Supervisors. And the first one we have is Developer Services Planning and Zoning Division Public Hearing, minor amendment case number 2201. It's Kevin Dahl and Dahl Robinson Associates, agents for 11 E LLC, request to change the land use designation of a 6.9 acre parcel. Portion of a parcel that's 27.39 gross acres in size from agricultural, rural, residential to regional commercial as part of the assessor's parcel number 182-30-013 located in the vicinity of the northwest corner of Highway 95 and Avenue 11E alignment, Yuma, Arizona, which continued from the April the 4th, 2022 meeting. I do understand there's some people who moving and there's people that want to talk about it. We'll start with the PowerPoint presentation by the planning staff, sort of like a repeat of what you did, but faster. Because we already heard that, all of it.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Javier Barraza, City Planner. I don't know if you want to also open the rezoning case or want to just.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I should have done that. This is tied into a rezoning case. If it doesn't go through the minor amendment, then the rezoning case really doesn't matter. But if it does go through, it'll be nice to be able to discuss both items at the same time so that the approvals can follow each other. So we do have public hearing in rezoning case number 2201, which is again Kevin Dahl from Dahl Robinson Associates, agents for 11E LLC, requested rezoning of a 6.9 acre portion of a parcel, 27.39 gross acres in size from rural area 20 acre minimum to general commercial C2, part of assessor's parcel number 182-30-013 located in the vicinity of the northwest corner of Highway 95 and Avenue 11E alignment in Yuma, Arizona, which was also continued from the April 4, 2022 meeting. So, okay, got it.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Javier Barraza, Senior Planner, presenting minor amendment case number 22-01. As you stated, it's to allow the rezoning of that 6.9 acres to general commercial, which is a portion of the subject parcel. This is the land use and vicinity map showing the outline in red, the entirety of the parcel. Crosshatch at the north is the portion to be amended with MA 22-01. The central portion of the set in red was amended back in September 8, 2021, under case MA 21-05 from rural agricultural rural residential to regional commercial. This is another review from 2017, outline the dashed red line depicts the area to be amended. This is a view looking southwest at subject parcel from the northeast corner. Now looking east from the west. Looking north at the subject parcel from Highway 95 on the south. Looking southwest at the subject parcel from the northeast. Staff received comment from ADOT, Arizona Game and Fish Department, USBR, and a letter in opposition from the Yuma Ag Coalition. No comments received from property owners within the zoning notification area. The Planning Commission recommends approval of minor amendment case number 22-01 based on the 3 items listed on the slide and the remainder 3. Now we'll continue with rezoning case 22-01. And the intent is to accommodate the phase number 2 of the mini storage facility. This is the zoning and vicinity map. Outlined in red again is the entire parcel. Crosshatch is the portion to be rezoned. The highlighted area in red is what's rezoned to C2 back in 1991 under Commission Initiative 91-12. And then in 2021, the central portion of the parcel was rezoned to C2 under rezoning case 21-14. Parcel 8 on the north is zone rural area 20 acre minimum in ag, as well as parcel number 5 on the west, and also contains a ag building. Parcel 15, it's improved with structures, 2 dwellings, and is zoned general commercial. Parcel 14, also to the south, is zone C2, vacant. Parcel 24 to the east is zone heavy industrial, only 50 acres of it, and the remainder of the 325 is zone rural area 20 acre minimum. Again, another aerial, repeat from the previous. This is the proposed site plan development plan from the applicant. Highlighted in red is the subject portion with the second phase of the mini storage facility. Again, outlined is the entire parcel, and highlighted is the zone, the area already zoned C2. Now the view. Now looking northwest at subject parcel portion from the northeast corner, no, southeast corner. Same comments received as previous. Planning Commission recommends approval of rezoning case 22-01, subject to the following performance condition. Within 60 days of approval by the board, the owner and shall provide an ARS 12-1134 waiver, record an agriculture disclosure statement, and record an infrastructure disclosure statement. Mr. Chairman, that concludes staff's presentation.
I'm going to open it up for the public hearing portion of this. And I do remind, everyone, this is an area where, people are allowed to express their opinions about it. Don't get too wound up. We've heard them before. We understand that that Goen is basically the one that is basically looking at this as a somewhat dangerous precedent that may impact the operations of not only their facility, but the Yucca facility next to it. So I've gotten the phone calls, I've received the comments, but so I'm opening it up to the public. If you'd like to restate your points on this, you're more than welcome to do that, or anyone that's here. Kevin, I guess you want to talk about it. So I'm opening this public hearing on both the rezoning and the minor amendment. Go ahead, Kevin.
Morning, Mr. Chairman, fellow board members. So we've had, I'm Kevin Dahl Robbins and Associates, 1560 South Fifth Avenue. We've had discussions with stakeholders on this, and we would like the board to consider withdrawing the minor amendment and the zoning case, and we will bring this back later this fall with a new minor amendment, I believe, that supports a planned development zoning. And I believe we are all in consensus.
That would be the best way to proceed.
We would tie it to what's shown on the site plan, which is self-storage.
Right, well, I should have just waited until you said that before I said all those things I said. All right, so I do understand that there's been some consensus that the item can proceed under certain guidelines and certain circumstances, and that's what you're basically here to say, right?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Kevin. Anybody else before I move it back to the board for their decision?
I'd like, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to hear from if representatives from Gowan and Yucca are here, just hear from them if they're good with the planned development and.
Mr. Chairman,
yeah?
I had the opportunity to meet with their principals, and we have the letter. And again, we do have the.
We do have your letter, so, I mean, if you want to say something, it's fine. I normally tell people, you quit when you're ahead. If you want to say anything, you okay?
So, just real quick, because obviously we've heard this a couple of times already. Michael Callahan, Gowan Milling, 12300 East County 8th Street. Mr. Chairman, members of the board, we are in agreement with Kevin Dahl and Steve Haxton at this point, the developer. We would like to see a planned development on this parcel in question at this point. Moving forward, yes, we want to make progress on this. I feel like between Gowan Milling and the developer, hopefully we can come to that mutual solution with the planned development.
Thank you, Mr. Callahan. There was, or there is, a speakerphone for David Harden. Maybe did you want to say it? You're okay? Okay. Just wanted to make sure everybody gets an opportunity. Any of the board members have anything to comment before I close it? Okay.
In the letter, it says Gowan Milling would not be in opposition to a planned development zoning district that limits use to storage units. So.
Let me close the public hearing and bring it back to the board, and we can talk about it. So I'm hereby closing the public hearing, bring it back to the board. The only decision that's left for the board to do is to actually do nothing and or make a decision to what? To deny the request and bring it back? What do we do here?
Mr. Chairman, Maggie Castro, Planning and Zoning Director. The board has the option of denying these two cases or taking no action based on the applicant's withdrawal of the case.
Okay, it looks better when they withdraw than we take, when we deny. But the point that I guess we want to make before we do either one of them is that obviously it is, to me anyway, a pleasant development when the principals, get together and decide, okay, well, it's not just plain opposition. It is opposition with a purpose, and the purpose is acknowledged. And so it is one of those situations where actually not doing anything or doing something negative actually produces a positive. So I guess I'll just turn it back to the board, Maggie, and see if they just want to simply not do anything and let it come out.
Can we offset the cost?
Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Just so the rest of the board is aware, I had the opportunity to sit down with the principals of Gowan and the GIN, as well as visit with Steve and Mr. Dahl, and so they were all able to come to an agreement. So withdrawing or not taking no action would be the best.
Right, well, then I'll entertain a motion to take no action. No, I'm just kidding. We won't take any action. We just move on. Thank you very much for the principles, and thank you again. We won't take any action on this item. Now, the only question I think remains, and I think that Supervisor Pancrase was kind of hinting at the edge of this, is the cost. The cost of doing another application, the cost of going through the process, and whether the cost that has been incurred so far, I guess, you wanted to sort of ask the question of whether that could be taken into account.
Can we
offset that or deny?
I don't know. That would be a question that.
I'd like to waive the cost of, if we
For
could.
reapplying.
For reapplying.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, that decision is up to the board to consider waiving the fees. The fees that were paid for the rezoning and the minor amendment, the costs incurred to process those rezoning cases have been.
You do them anyway. You have to publish, you have to pay.
Mr. Chairman.
Now, wait, I have a
Go ahead.
question. Can we just waive his reapplication? Or do we waive the ones that have already been incurred? And how do you want to do, how would that work?
Maybe the question is, how much is it? Is it something that's substantial? Do you?
Yeah.
Fee for a land development, the minor amendment is $200, and the plan development is, you look at the fees.
I think it's just complicating issues, and it brings in a precedent that is going to be difficult to sustain when
Then
people
can
get
we waive
a
the
denial.
cost?
No, I think that we do nothing and just, come back with the process. I think the cost that is really, the heavy cost is the preparation that goes into the planning, the engineering, all that stuff. It isn't the application to the county. The time it takes the county to process is what we try to recoup, because we can't charge people and make a profit anyway. So this is all measured to sort of cover the cost that we have administratively here. And I think that doing it again, it's doing it again. It's going to involve people in the county doing some things. And I personally don't think that the fees, we have done that in the past. We
Yes,
have
we
actually
have.
waived the fees for people that are individuals that they're in a hardship of some sort. I don't know if I can consider this a particularly hardship situation where the fee is the main driver for this. I think it's the circumstances that are driving this process to be redone. And I think the fact that we're willing to take a look at it, it's more than good, more than the financial expense of reapplying. I think that the planning unit development is even a little more complex than maybe, but it's still another zoning determination, and it would require a minor amendment. So I think that the fees are not going to stop anyone, and I'm not sure that I want to send signals either way. I think it's great that they've gotten together, they can come back. But I think that doing nothing is the best alternative we have right now. It doesn't show any particular leanings, and I think that you just reapply and come back, and I don't think the reapplication fee makes that much of a difference. I don't want to send signals like I'm really happy with everything.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right, so we don't do anything, we move on to the next item, and, guys, work it out. We'd be more than glad to look at it when you guys work it out. Okay?
Thank you all.
Thank you
very
for your
much.
patience.
Thank you, Maggie.
Okay, so when everybody sort of settles a little bit, we'll move on to the last item or the next item in the agenda. Wow, that was a big crowd. It's like feeling like apologizing for something that really, good that they work it out.
It might
All right.
be, but it's not down here.
What?
Warrant. The warrants that we sent.
Oh, the warrants, I don't know, I don't think they brought them here.
I didn't sign it.
I don't see him here. Anyway, look, we're gonna move on to the next item, and it's discussion regarding legislative issues. Discussion and possible action regarding state and federal legislative updates, which may include international issues, status of bill impacting Yuma County, timelines and composition of the legislatures, redistricting, and legislative strategies and priorities. There will be a PowerPoint presentation.
Mr. Chairman, good morning, members of the board. I'll be presenting to you.
Who
It
are
is
you
still
again?
morning.
Who are you?
Alejandro Figueroa, Director of Economic Development and Intergovernmental Affairs. I apologize for that.
No. Look, what happens is a lot of us know each other that well, but people who are, tuning in on TV may not particularly know.
The 1.7
The one,
million.
don't do that. I mean, the last time I got eaten up because I made that comment. The $1.2 million subscribers are looking in do not know that. But anyway, Alejandro, continue.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So today marks, if we can go to the next slide, please. Thank you. Today marks the 127th day of the 2022 second regular session. This last week was again a short week for the House and the Senate. The House took the floor on Monday, May the 9th, and after some floor action adjourned until today. The Senate also took the floor on Monday the 9th and Tuesday the 10th before also adjourning until today. So far, budget negotiations seem to be largely between leadership in the legislature and the governor's office. If we can move to the next slide, thank you. On the federal level, the states of Arizona, Louisiana, and Missouri brought a lawsuit against the decision to terminate the Title 42 on May 23rd. Last Friday, May 13th, in a more than a 2-hour hearing, the 3 states emphasized the costs to states if Title 42 ends, and potentially more migrants are released into the U.S. U.S. District Judge Robert Summerhays, who presided over the hearing, said he'd take the matter under consideration and rule before May 23rd. Moving on May 5th, Chairman Reyes, Supervisor Pancrasi, County Administrator Susan Thorpe, and I met virtually with Congressman Schweikert's staff to discuss Yuma County's 2022 federal legislative priorities. And on May 9, in my role as Director of Intergovernmental Affairs for the county, I met with Congressman Stanton's office to also share the county's legislative priorities, as well as some other important issues for our county, like water rights and Title 42.
Mm-hmm.
Since we were unfortunately not able to schedule a meeting with Congressman Grijalba, I shared and discussed our county priorities with his office, and I'm glad to share with you that Congressman Grijalba is supportive of our ask to enact federal legislation to restore health benefits to pretrial individuals, and has now asked to join as co-sponsor of H.R. 955, also known as the Medicaid Reentry Act of 2022, to support healthcare equity for pretrial justice-involved individuals. The bill amends Title 19 of the Social Security Act to allow states to make medical assistance available to inmates during the 30-day period preceding their release. Continuing with the federal legislative update, U.S. Commerce Secretary Gina Raimondo announced last week the launch of the Biden administration's Internet for All initiative, which will invest $45 billion to provide affordable, reliable, high-speed internet for everyone in the U.S. by the end of the decade. The initiative will be administered and implemented by the U.S. Department of Commerce, National Telecommunications and Information Administration. Can we go to the next slide, please? International. Now, representatives from across Yuma County participated in the launch of the Arizona-Sonora Border Infrastructure Master Plan Update, hosted by ADOT and the Sonora Department of Infrastructure and Urban Development. The master plan is an update to the original one from 2013. It is designed to identify, assess, and rank all border infrastructure projects on the Arizona-Sonora border. Among the project types open for consideration are ports of entry, the road connectivity to the U.S. and Mexican highway systems, rail, and multimodal. Also on the international front, Forefront TD convened a meeting with the mayor of Puerto Peñasco, San Luis de Colorado's municipality staff, and Sonora's public safety, tourism, and infrastructure state directors. Mayor Nichols and Mayor McCullough, city administrators from San Luis and Somerton, were also in attendance from within Yuma County, along with ADOT staff, to discuss the possibility of creating a secure corridor between Yuma County, the municipality of Puerto Peñasco, which would be similar to the existing secure corridor between Lookville, Arizona, and Puerto Peñasco. And now we can move on to the next slide. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for your time. That will be my presentation.
Wonderful presentation.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Yeah. Let me state the obvious. That was a very nice presentation. Very quick, very fast, very nice. Okay. Are there any questions? Oh, and I do want to thank you, for the summary that you gave me on the WAHAB activities from a long time. I am going to need a timeline for tomorrow's meeting, but that's something that we can talk about differently. I just wanted to thank you and Susan for sort of bringing me up on that. Okay, any questions for Mr. Figueroa? If not, Mr. Figueroa, thank you very much. And
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
all right, we'll move on then to the event calendars and current events. I am stunned at the pace. I thought that this was going to drag on a little bit more, but
We're professionals.
yeah, I can assure you that this is just a result of all this professional activities that we've undertaken over lately.
But wait till you get to my report.
Yeah, well, yeah.
I know, your
I was
report's
afraid of that.
probably
The next
longer than
item is
mine.
board members and county administrators will report on events attended or to be attended on behalf of the county and may present a brief summary of the schedule for future board of supervisors meeting. As appropriate, no legal action will be taken pursuant to Arizona revised statutes. Supervisor Pancrase, you may
Yes.
begin first.
I attended the 4-H awards program for the end of this 4-H season.
As the third supervisor.
Yes, as the third supervisor. Yeah, I didn't.
We made her sit on the other side.
No, I sat separate from these guys. Yeah. So, and I was late, so like I always am. So, anyway, but I attended the 4-H awards program. I attended the county administrators recruitment meeting. I had a virtual meeting with Caroline Oakman from Congressman Schweikart.
Schweikart.
Yeah, there you go. I said it right the first time. His office with the concerns for the county's agenda or policy concerns. I attended CSA legislative policy meeting. I went to, I actually was a presenter for the community conversation about preschools, the need for. I met with reps and senators at the Capitol on the county concerns regarding the budget, and I was asked to thank Jonathan Lyons for also calling people and discussing those concerns that the county has, that he did a great job. So just thought I'd tell you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And then I attended the groundbreaking for the new Salvation Army headquarters. It'll be at 445 South 4th Avenue. I attended a workforce development meeting. GYEDC investors luncheon meeting. A meeting with a constituent concerning a building. I attended Good Morning Yuma, and Good Morning Yuma had the program from YRMC about all their new residents for family practice. It was very interesting, and it's a wonderful how that program has grown. And then I attended the Yuma Fresh Vegetable Conference on Colorado River shortages, and I wanted to make statements. One, today is Eric Johnston's birthday. He's our guy in the booth back there. Happy birthday, Eric.
Happy birthday, Eric.
And
come out, we'll sing to you.
Yeah, we'll sing to you. And I wanted to commend the City of Yuma's Recreation and Parks Department and all the board members for the flag football program that we have in Yuma. There's over 1,000 kids out there playing flag football, and it is so well organized and so well done, and they're trying to put together a second season for that, and I think that would be a wonderful idea. Anyway, that's it. I'm done.
All right. Fine.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, no.
Susan asked me to get with Craig Sullivan regarding some initiatives from the county or from all the counties statewide. So I met with Dunn, Joel, John, Martinez, Kerr, and Osborne. Had another meeting about the fairgrounds, trying to push some things along there. GYDC had conversations with Congressman Gosar, Biggs, staffer with Lesko, spoke with Senator Sinema's staff 3 times. Had 2 conversations with Senator Kelly. Started the day off having a conversation with the governor. Met with Mark Jess and Robbie Barkley regarding that parcel out there. that Steve Haxton is developing. Attended the 4-H presentation meeting, the Arizona Department of Water Resources meeting with Yuma Fresh Vegetables. Met with Amanda Geary multiple times regarding our efforts here along the border. Met with the consul together with Alejandro for the tourism efforts and their festivals that they'll be having in Mexico in June, and then hosted several state and federal candidates again for a first look at the challenges that we have here along the border. And then I can't read the rest of my writing, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, it's like me. You were supposed to be a doctor. You just didn't get the training, but the writing, you got it right down smack. Supervisor Simmons.
Just several budget sessions. Also attended the Yuma County 4-H Awards with Supervisor Lyons and Pancrase. Part of the county administrator review process. Had a 197 building meeting, reference to the contractors, and for the first time in my life, I went to talk to a guy. I've numerous times I've talked, but I went to talk to somebody about a zoning issue that's kind of hot contested out in the North Foothills, and myself and the planning zoning representative for that area, and we went up and knocked on the door and started talking to him, and he slammed the door in our faces.
Welcome
First
to the club.
time, huh?
Yeah, he did not. He said, "I'm within my regulations," and just
Screw you.
slammed the door in our face and said nothing. And that's the first time that's ever happened to me. But anyway, I had
because
numerous.
you used to be in uniform before. People didn't slam doors on you.
Yeah,
You
they
showed up in
never do it
uniform,
then,
and I'm not going to slam
Maybe
the
I
door.
need to
on
start
the guy.
doing that again. Yeah, maybe that's the key to it. But then just several meetings with constituents over numerous issues out east.
Yeah.
Supervisor Porches.
I attended the GYDEC luncheon. I attended the Forefront at Breakfast meeting with Mexican and Yuma County officials. And we selected the construction management at risk for
Building next one.
the funds.
Yeah, well, welcome to the club. When you go to those meetings of the Yuma Forefront as a supervisor, I've heard that you're a little shocked about, how they treat supervisors and not mayors.
No, the other side, the other side.
The other side. Oh, the other side doesn't know it.
Yeah.
It's kind of weird. All right, I went to the AWC graduation ceremony. 640 some kids. I mean, this is very special, and I think it bears repeating. This is the first college that actually puts together NAU, U of A, ASU in a single setting where you can go to any of the three universities of the state in Yuma and graduate from any of the three universities, including AWC, at the same time. This was a very special night for a lot of kids, including my son. And so, it was a very, very nice
So you there as a
event.
father or
I was there as a father and as a supervisor and as a shock. I mean, it's the first actual graduating they have in person like this. So it was crowded. I mean, there was thousands of people in there.
Oh, that's
Went
wonderful.
late into the night.
Yeah, it went in up until 10, up until 10 something at night. It was a very nice event. My congratulations to everybody that put it together, including President Shore.
Yeah,
Core.
Dr. Core.
Dr. Core.
Mhm.
I also attended a group meeting called the Vision Group in San Luis, where I have the pleasure. I was dealing with Russell Jones. And I know people who deal with Russell Jones know it's a pleasure. I always deal with Russell Jones. But we had the border director there, Mr. Schwan, port director, who basically told us in an open setting, I guess I could repeat it, that the last $29 million, $30 million for the port of entry construction in San Luis somehow I think has been found by GSA. And so he wanted me to thank everybody that mentioned it to anyone that it looks like GSA has changed their mind. I know what he said. If you can, please, pass the word on that they seem to have found them and they're going to put them back there. The concern now happens to be what's going to happen across the border, but it's going to happen at the same time. There's a lot of concerted effort in trying to make sure that this time we don't build something that doesn't match with the people across the border. So they got a way to go. I also went to a Great Yuma Port Authority meeting. We went to one. My sister and I went to one. And again, I'd like to thank Susan for taking the time to sort of get everybody in line with the situation that we're having at the Grandview Port Authority. We cannot discuss a lot of the real estate transactions that are going on, but that seems to be moving pretty fast. And there seems to be a candidate to take over all the land that's left. So it looks really nice. It looks really good. Representative Fernandez was in town last week. He was giving me a report on what's going on. Brian, he again wanted me to thank the board for his appointment and said that he was working really hard and trying to get that budget, $30-some million for the Cesar Chavez Boulevard that connects San Luis to the port of entry. And so he said to thank you all for his appointment. He's taken to it like a fish in water.
He's really doing a good job.
I don't know, I can't, U.S. Board and Budget. I think I can't I can't read my writing either, so I'm gonna just quit while I'm ahead. So that's it for me. Supervisor. Retiring administrator, county administrator Susan Thorpe, what's your?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I continue to host the YSIPTA Financial Sustainability Committee, and we are making progress, but we do have one entity who is raising some issues of concern. But my goal is to make sure that Yuma County gets paid back that $1.4 million that we have, that YSIPTA and its members owe the county, and that it is financially sustainable going forward for the bus system to function. Hosted the city and county administrators lunch meeting here in Yuma County, attended the NACO Deferred Compensation Committee meeting, the GYDC Investors Lunch, the committee that interviewed the 2 vendors for construction manager at risk, and we've selected one of those, along with Supervisor Porteous and Supervisor Simmons. Attended the Arizona County Managers Association meeting at CSA and the Arizona County Insurance Pool Board meeting, and I presided over my last meeting as president there, or chairman. And then tomorrow, our broadband attorneys and I will begin negotiations on the network operating maintenance agreement with Allo. My goal is to bring that to you June 6th for approval.
All right, well, thank you very much. Anything from the attorney? No? All right, well, it looks calm. Anybody else? Because if not, then I'll end this meeting. Thank you very much.